Someone calls out to Luo Wei and asks whether two sworn battle brothers shouldn't trust each other, questioning why he would do something like that to himself. The blonde man listens to an audio in which someone recalls the beginning of the disaster, when monsters appeared from strange spaces scattered across the land, later called secret realms. Anyone who touched one of those realms received mysterious powers known as a class, and soon they formed an army of class holders to face these rifts. They advanced through successive victories and even conquered the Triple S class secret realm, the deadliest of all. But that is exactly why it must be eliminated, because it is already out of control. A powerful class holder can shake the Empire's order, and anyone above Triple S becomes the most dangerous enemy, since only the royal family should hold absolute power to ensure stability. A boy shouts in revolt, asking if that is the reason for eliminating his family and their own squad. A voice replies that it is done for the Empire's balance, and the boy calls for Luo Wei the moment a devastating blast blows the place apart. In another region, someone beside a horse near the water comments that he had tampered with the armor earlier, and when it exploded, a composite poison would enter the wounded, and after a Triple S level war, they would have no strength left to resist. He even brought an entire army and says this is his way of paying respect. A boy remembers his brother and thinks that promise of eternal brotherhood was nothing but a farce, just an illusion of trust. The system warns that the hidden skill Mirror World meets the activation requirements. Decades later, boys tie up a young man wrapped around a door and hang him on a tree, asking if he is pretending to be finished off. They start beating him and complain that his almost fainted face is irritating, while the protagonist tries to explain that he wasn't pretending until he's pushed underwater again. They laugh and promise that if he pretends again, they will teach him an even worse lesson, saying his expression is funny and that they will pull him up and punch him a few more times. Under the water, injured, he wonders why he is always treated that way until he notices a new sound. Someone approaches ordering them to stop, warning that he could lose his life. The bully says that if that is happening, he can just use a healing spell, and comments that his class wasn't Chanter. Then he stares at the little boy and says he is fake because he was the one who led everyone there, and if the protagonist loses his life, it wouldn't be his fault. He asks if the kid also wants to be drowned, and the small boy replies he only did that because of him. The bully mocks him, saying the punching bag now has its own opinion. When he raises his hand to attack the child, a strange sound echoes, and an intense light bursts across the area. Frightened, they run and ask how a secret realm appeared there, saying that this new domain is not something they can handle. The little boy looks at the protagonist still hanging and runs to save him, but monsters start being summoned. The boy tries to undo the rope until a monster approaches, but someone pulls him back. It is the protagonist, freed, surrounded by freezing mana. He unleashes his glacial tremor power. The system warns that the basic healing spell was used out of spite, but the operation failed because the target's health is already full. The kid is startled and asks why he would heal that creature. He blocks the monster's attack while the protagonist analyzes his own status and tries to understand who Yun is, thinking that body is not the original one. Normally, anyone who touches a secret realm is bound to the system and receives a random initial class, and by remaining inside the realm becomes stronger as the class evolves. But he should have been a warrior who reached the apex. He remembers that moment and thinks he used the ability called Mirror World, remaining trapped there until hearing the boy's dying scream. Now he suspects he resurrected inside the child's body. The protagonist concludes that this is no reason to celebrate, but still he must be grateful for being given a chance for revenge. The kid beside him blocks the monster's blows and shouts that more creatures are appearing nearby, begging Yun to help quickly, since he can endure at most 3. Yun realizes that body is far too weak, and even those small monsters are much stronger than he can withstand. Chi analyzes his own abilities and concludes none of them are useful for the situation, since Chanter is a useless class in direct combat, filled with long-range support skills that cannot compare to the strength of true battle classes. That is why he was always rejected from the beginning, and even maintaining the defense thanks to his former experience, he knows he will not last long and needs to find a way out before his stamina ends. He decides to gamble on the hidden skill, even without understanding how to use it. The system warns that Mirror World was activated against a rank B demon, but the operation failed due to unmet requirements. Chi wonders what those requirements could be. Lights appear and the boy falls to the ground in terror as a larger, stronger monsters are summoned. Another notification pops up saying Mirror World was used on a stone by the roadside, but the operation failed because the level is too low. Yun wonders if not even a stone works, if the level gap is too big, if he is too weak, or if the ability requires a reflective surface like the previous lake. The system keeps repeating failures on the rank B demon, emphasizing that his level is insufficient. Che begins to consider that Mirror World might really need a reflective surface, but he has no way to fix that, so he tries using it on other things. He activates several abilities, but all of them fail for the same reason. The boy shouts at him to stop using that useless support skill, saying he can't hold the monsters back much longer. Yun observes the creatures and his own status with a cold detachment, while the boy laments that they are doomed and that someone needs to be at level 10 to face monsters. Chi, still insisting on testing the ability, receives another notification telling him the operation failed because it is impossible to reverse abilities that belong to others. He realizes he cannot meddle with another person's power and wonders if he can reverse his own abilities. Then, a notification appears informing him that Mirror World successfully reversed the Vine Control ability. Lights spread, and the effects begin to invert at the exact moment the monster lunges at the boy. The blow hits the creature, it roars. The boy stumbles back in fear, and Yun understands how the power works. The original effect, meant to bind the target, was transformed into confusion, an entirely different power. The once useless skill now shows an unexpected effect worthy of a triple S tier hidden ability. Mirror World doesn't just reverse abilities, it upgrades them absurdly. Chi thinks that if he had used the ability before inversion, he would have had a low success rate and the binding would last only 1 or 2 seconds, far from the current result, and wonders what the rest of his abilities will turn into. The system warns that a unit's attack increases by 5% and deactivates when the target spends mana. Each mana point spent grants another 10% attack, and each ability used adds another 10%. Yun realizes that as long as the ability is active, any action will increase his power. He thinks he may have leveled up, since multiple monsters started attacking each other, and his mana was automatically restored. He decides to test Trick Blade. The system notifies that Chaotic Thorns was used, mana spent, current mana 110 out of 120. Truncating Blade activated and attack increased by 10%. Thus, within seconds, his power reaches 2.2 times the normal amount. Yun charges forward with the blade and begins cutting down the creatures ahead. The boy beside him watches in shock, unable to believe what he sees, asking how a level 5 warrior can have that kind of strength when even with his own level 6 stats, 120 mana, and 1 per second regeneration, he only reaches 2.3 times attack at best. He concludes that at Che's current strength, he can barely handle even elite level 11 monsters. Nearby, a light flares and an even larger monster is summoned, trampling everything in front of it with absurd size and strength. The boy panics when he sees it, and Yun wonders if that is a hidden level 21 boss inside that secret realm. He takes an attack stance, throws a rope at the giant lion, and the system reports the operation failed because the target is immune to confusion. The boy warns him to be careful and rushes forward with his shield, while Che watches him motionless, remembering his former partner telling him not to rush and asking why he never listens. In the present, Yun is still unmoving when the boy's shield is shattered and he is hurled away. The protagonist charges forward, thinking the kid must have a death wish. He reaches him and casts the healing spell multiple times to save him, but realizes the chanter class's healing is weak and asks if there is any potion. The boy says he has one hidden and Yun orders him to drink it. Che looks around, understanding he has no way to fight that boss now, but the majority of the smaller monsters are nearly finished, and tells Chaoji to wait there for a minute. Chao doesn't understand until the protagonist moves with speed, slicing down all the monsters around with his ability and leveling up as he finishes the smaller creatures. Yun calculates that to defeat the boss he needs at least 400% attack, but Trick Blade lasts only 1 minute and he will have to cast Chaotic Thorns 40 times in 50 seconds, as well as reach at least level 10. Chao watches in terror as the giant lion charges toward him. Che approaches, sees his boosted attributes, and says that now it's more than enough. He then unleashes his power, releasing an extremely loud sound, and rushes forward with his blade, slashing the lion again and again. The creature roars, opening its enormous jaws, but Yun keeps attacking without stopping until he finishes it off. Chao is stunned, asking if he's dreaming and whether a level 5 chanter just defeated an entire newly formed secret realm alone. The system displays the protagonist's data and confirms he eliminated the secret realm's boss. Chao asks if it's really him and how he suddenly became so strong. Yun calls him and asks what relation he has to Benben. Z is startled and asks how he knows his great-grandfather's childhood nickname. Chi thinks about the term great-grandfather and realizes that boy is Benben's great-grandson, the same boy who was mocked in the past, and wonders if everyone he once knew was eliminated by Luo. He comments something about the great-grandfather, but Chao cuts him off, saying this is not the time to talk about that, and that if he doesn't want to answer, he doesn't have to, as there's no need to humiliate anyone. The protagonist reflects on humiliation, and Z says he doesn't know why, but he feels Yun was hiding his strength the whole time, and that they need to get back to school because tomorrow, there will be an organized visit to the Modern History Memorial, and since they ran off, someone will notice. Yun thinks his identity is still not safe to reveal, and if Chao insists too much, he might start suspecting him, so he agrees to go. He thinks about the memorial, imagining there may be records of what happened after he lost his life. Inside the bus, they sit among other students as the vehicle moves along, and Chi thinks about how much time has changed. Many years have passed, the world has advanced far too much, and now they use secret realm items to power carriages, along with countless new things he has never seen before. Though some seem like artifacts he encountered in certain secret realms, he wonders if they might just be pieces of monsters transported outside. The protagonist observes a chimera bone ring formed from the rib of the battlefield chimera, the boss of the meat secret realm, capable of grafting the creature's limbs onto its user. He remembers the chaos caused by the secret realms, especially when that terrifying SSS domain appeared and sent everyone into panic. At that time, King Luo Wei personally led the professional army into a campaign, and despite heavy casualties, they managed to conquer the secret realm. However, shortly after, a carefully planned rebellion occurred, and everyone knows the main culprit. Yun thinks about how equipment and skill books can be stored in the inventory and even bought or sold outside the secret realm. But objects that cannot be stored should disappear along with the domain after the boss is defeated. And he wonders what really happened after his own execution. When the bus stops, the students get off and find themselves before a statue. The instructor explains that the figure before them is the supreme ruler of the kingdom, the emperor who ended the disasters caused by the secret realms, Luo Wei. He says that, as many students know, more than 50 years ago that place was the battlefield of the famous Rebellion War. Yun Che, the one the king trusted deeply, was responsible for the betrayal. The protagonist thinks that that's how everything happened, that they had clearly cleared the SSS secret realm and yet were ambushed by him. The instructor comments that no one can imagine the pain of being betrayed in a divine moment, but the king overcame it and fought to the end. With the help of the hero Ding Kun, the rebellion was crushed. Yun wonders how that is possible and who that so-called hero is. The boys from earlier approach and ask if they're still alive, since they had all been dragged into the newly formed secret realm. The partner beside them comments that they had said the secret realm had already been discovered, and that for a new realm to appear that quickly, there must be a specialist nearby. Concluding they were extremely lucky to have found them, Chi wonders who those people are. The students around them ask if it really is a new secret realm and if it's another disaster, shocked that they are alive. The bully says they were definitely lucky that they escaped, but he knows the truth and accuses Chao of nearly finishing them off by dragging them into the secret realm, asking how they're going to repay the debt. Chao says it was his fault and that he will report it. The bully asks what is going on in his head, saying he clearly understands nothing, and tells him to look at the statue and see his grandfather being trampled under the hero's feet. He says the traitor Benben was his ancestor, and that none of them would ever side with the descendant of that traitor, declaring that Chao may insult him, but never his grandfather. Chao is confused, and the students around them immediately turn to look, asking if a fight has broken out and whether Ding Shu's grandfather wasn't the hero Ding Ding Kun. And right beside him is Z, descendant of Chiao M. They say that if the heir of a traitor insults a hero, that's turning the world upside down, reminding everyone that the grandfather eliminated many people and that without the hero, no one knows how many more would have been finished off. The bully says he doesn't care what people say behind his back, but he won't tolerate insults to his grandfather right in front of him. The instructor agrees that this is fair and tells him to let the teacher handle it. She walks up to Z and orders him to apologize, saying that if the hero spared his family, the least he can do is be grateful and not slander him. The bully adds that even if the instructor punched him in front of everyone, people would applaud because no one defends a rabid dog getting hit, much less a dog everyone hates, and asks if he really thinks a descendant of a hero like him could ever be wrong. He raises his fist, claiming it's for his grandfather's honor, but someone kicks him in the face, stopping him and declares they will never forgive him. It's the protagonist who has just done it. Chao looks shocked, and Yun asks whether a family of heroes doesn't have time to educate its brats. Voices around them ask if that is really Che, if he truly dared hit Ding Shu, saying he seems like a completely different person, as if he's gone mad. They remember he was only level 5, the weakest in the class, and now he's attacking Ding Shu. They also say he has no parents, is always sad and friendless, and that his brain finally snapped. Ding calls him a punching bag and says he should be grateful they aren't hunting him down, yet he still dares strike him while he was distracted. His friends say they'll all attack him together. Che faces them and starts knocking them down one by one, beating them to the floor. People around are stunned, and Shu wonders if he was actually defeated by him. Some ask if they saw it happen, that he was defeated again so easily, questioning if Ding is really that weak. Shu starts releasing flames and asks how a level 5 support could be stronger than him, saying it must be luck. Ding charges with his weapon, but the protagonist says the opening is huge and punches him in the jaw. Shu can't believe it and is struck again. A guard approaches and asks what is going on. A voice says Ding is unconscious and asks if there's a healer nearby. A girl looks at Che and asks if they hadn't said he was only level 5 because he doesn't look like it. The blonde boy says how would he know, claiming Che probably hid his real level. The guard says there can't be fights inside the museum and asks what they would do if something got damaged, complaining that the instructor can't control her students. The instructor snaps back that besides insulting a hero, Che is now attacking a hero's descendant, calling him shameless. Che looks at him and breaks her weapon using only his power. People are shocked, and the protagonist says that shameless or not, the teacher who claims to be fair only listened to Shu's side, asking if she's trying to win his family's favor. The instructor tells him to stop talking nonsense and wonders what kind of equipment he has, since he didn't even use full force in a surprise attack and still had his strike blocked easily. Yun says he was just making a comment, adding that he doesn't seem like that kind of person. The instructor promises to investigate the conflict and quietly tries to figure out where Che got that equipment and if he has any backing. He concludes that even if it's epic quality, it's still just the drop of a level 21 boss, and the boy is still weak compared to a level 35 teacher. The protagonist says that as punishment, they should just expel them from the museum and calls Chao to leave. Z follows them as many remain stunned that he blocked a teacher, asking if a student could even do that. The instructor orders someone to cast a healing spell on Shu. Outside, the two boys leave the museum. Che thinks that in that case, no one survived. He looks back and concludes that at that point he should answer anything without thinking, and asks Chao if he can tell him more about what Hero Kun actually did. Chao says he doesn't remember everything, but apparently the hero discovered the traitor's plan beforehand and set up an ambush near the Triple S Rift to reinforce the defenses, helping to neutralize the entire rebellion crisis. Yun wonders about that ambush and recalls past events. Z continues explaining that Hero Kun set early goals to end the dungeon crisis and trained hard for it. After being promoted by the king, he fought across the land for years, saving regions from many disasters, including the famous Winter City Cataclysm. Che thinks about Winter City and remembers when he was there, asking about the sword the statue was holding. Chao says they say it's the sword used to eliminate the traitor, probably a first-tier weapon. The protagonist concludes that not only did the hero take credit for his past achievements, he also stole his sword and decides he will start by eliminating Kun. Somewhere else, outside the Ding family estate, a warrior looks back, notices two boys passing, and calls Che a brat. Yun hides and thinks he must be some vagrant with a brawler-type ability. Chao says they need to leave because there are too many guards there, and even if they managed to get inside, if Shu returned, they'd be done for. Chi thinks he wants to eliminate the so-called Hero Kun directly, but according to Chao, Ding is living inside a high-level rift, and now rifts of that level are guarded by the army and require an access pass, different from his past life, when he could freely go in and out. He wonders if Ding's house might have a pass and why they need so many guards, since they're just one of many branches of the family. Z says that even so, they are descendants of a hero, and the house even has an internal rift. The protagonist asks about a rift inside a house. Chao explains that low-level rifts have been bought and sold secretly for a long time, but without power and influence, most people wouldn't dare even dream about it. Ding brings guards to defeat monsters and level up whenever he wants, while normal students can only level up during the school rift training and even have to fight for a spot. Yun says times have changed and asks if the richer and more powerful someone is, the higher their level becomes. Z says, of course, and that most ordinary people graduate between levels 15 and 20, and many lose access to rifts after graduation, staying stuck at those levels. If they manage to get jobs related to rifts, such as rift mining or forest rangers, they can reach level 30 in middle age. He explains that the Ding Mansion guards treat the family rifts as an experience farm, and for that reason, stay around level 30. He adds that usually only people recruited by the army or those who pass exams to enter a guild corps or officer schools can access higher-level rifts and level up further. He concludes that if Che wants to get stronger, he needs that pass, and insisting now is pointless. With the current gap, he couldn't defeat the guards even with great skill. Che keeps walking, thinking that with his current power he is far from being able to eliminate the hero, much less the Supreme King Luo Wei, who is protected everywhere. He concludes that level 30 abilities like Scout are just small area techniques, things like Eagle Eye, Enhanced Hearing, or Rat Spirit Summons, and none of them cover the entire estate at all times. That also isn't a life or death rift, so the guards are lazy. Z looks confused as the protagonist compares the lax watch here with the near-perfect surveillance webs of high-level rifts he knew in his previous life. Chow says that even if they enter in that private rift, he could be finished off with no consequences, and asks why. Yun grabs his shirt and asks if he doesn't want to change his life. Chow says he does, but that would only happen if he joined a guild corps. Che asks if joining a guild would really change his life and reminds him that he is the great-grandson of the traitor Ben, causing Chow to lower his head. The protagonist says destiny changes in the now, not in some uncertain future, and that it's up to him to follow or not. Yun thinks of Ben and wonders if his descendant will make the same choice the ancestor did. Z follows him, determined not to let him risk his life alone. There are still no signs of ranger-type summoning abilities, so if they stay quiet, avoid sightlines, and act at the right moment, they can sneak in. They stop, and Chow asks what that is. Che says it's an underground rift, slightly higher level than the previous one. He says there aren't many monsters there, probably cleared often by the Ding people, and that only 2 small mobs are left, telling him to try. Z panics and asks if he really has to fight, saying he won't be able to win. The zombies advance and Chow, terrified, blocks with his shield and complains that he shouldn't have trusted him, that he wants to leave. The protagonist tells him to at least try to strike back. Chow says he has no chance at all. Yun answers that with him watching, nothing will go wrong. Z faces the monster and attacks. Another approaches from behind. Chow notices and dodges quickly. Chi observes and thinks that just as he imagined, the boy truly has great talent but is timid and easily panics, only daring to defend. But his spatial awareness is instinctively precise. That's why he always looks like he's in danger but rarely takes actual damage. He concludes that most people stop there because they lack the courage to challenge themselves, but the great-grandson has taken the first step. Chow realizes that after attacking the zombies, he leveled up. The protagonist explains that experience is divided by contribution, and that if he doesn't destabilize the monsters, he'll gain very little experience even if he defeats them. He thinks Chiao's movements are far too agile and asks how he distributed his attribute points. Z replies that he spread them evenly across everything except spirit. Yun asks if shield bearers don't usually ignore agility. Chiao says that if he ignores it, nobody will want him on the school team because no one wants to wait for a slow tank. By the time he arrives, everyone else has already finished all the mobs. Chi sighs and says he needs to think long-term because all advanced classes at level 60 have attribute requirements, such as Fortified Bastion needing 60 vitality and 90 defense, and he can't distribute points randomly. Chow says most people only reach level 40 in life and asks who plans for level 60, saying that's something for S-rank people. The protagonist taps his shoulder and says that from now on he can start thinking about S-rank. No, something far above S-rank. And he thinks he also needs to plan his own class advancement. His support class only had impact thanks to Mirror World, and unless something unexpected happens, it will eventually change. Yun looks at Mirror World and wonders if it can also level up. The zombies approach and Che cuts them down with the trick blade. One of them tries to hit him again and the protagonist dodges, thinking it hasn't been finished yet. Yun counterattacks and realizes trick blade is powerful but not suitable for long battles, as his stamina can't handle prolonged combat. Even so, leveling this way is faster than usual, already putting him 2 levels higher. He also notices that defeating these monsters increases Mirror World's experience. Che senses something, moves quickly to hide, and notices the Ding family guards have started patrolling more often. Chow says there are far fewer monsters now, and that if this keeps up, the risk will increase. The protagonist thinks he's right. It's starting to get heavy even for him, and judging by the skill book drop, not every inverted ability is useful in combat. Mirror World still needs 30% to level up. Even at level 1, ability inversion is already absurd and should become even better once it evolves. If he can eliminate the Lord of that realm, it should reach level 2 immediately. In other realms, he might not even receive skill experience, so it's better to check the central area lord. Rat Spirit summons, Owl summons, even the patrol abilities are getting denser. Yun looks to the side and notices a creature bound in chains. Chow says it's a realm lord being kept under control and that it's his first time seeing one, since in school realms teachers protect the lords and no one can get close, and that those chains must be extremely high-level equipment. Chi watches a guard nearby urinating and leaps toward him, thinking he should eliminate the guards first. The guard is crippled and the protagonist walks up, saying he will interrogate him now and collect information, ordering him to answer honestly. The guard, collapsed, begs him not to do it and asks what he wants to know, promising to tell everything, saying the Ding family doesn't pay enough to die for them. Yun decides to ask about the main issue. The guard asks if he wants a pass to the hero's realm and says there are several in the great-grandfather's studio, that they aren't rare, and that he's seen the great-grandfather take passes from the studio and leave with the head of the family several times. He says they're all temporary passes with no personal data, but without someone from the family accompanying him, he will definitely be stopped. Chi pulls the man closer and says that's none of his business, and orders him to empty his system backpack. Later, outside the realm in the Ding family mansion, the protagonist asks if that is really the only enchantment skill book he has. The guard confirms and says the Ding family is stingy, that everything they defeat in the realm must be handed over and they only receive some scraps. He explains that the inner residence is protected and ordinary guards can't enter, because everything there is for the family's heavy use, and that except for young Ding, all the others are level 30 with top-tier equipment and don't even need guards. Yun asks if that means he can take the pass in the inner residence. The guard says no, that the head of the family is inside, that the man with the mustache is level 42 and he definitely can't defeat him, and that the great-grandfather and the third master are above level 50, only away on business, and that if they return, it'll be even more dangerous. Chi thinks that entering the inner residence means facing someone far above his level. He calls Qiao and orders him to stay there. Inside the Ding family mansion, the protagonist enters masked and hooded, thinking that using a high-level chain to keep the lord alive prevents the realm from disappearing, and that the key is to place guards watching the chain's lock. The technique is safe, but it only works if no one is stupid enough to unlock it. Yun appears behind one of the guards. People look frightened. A light bursts out, and Chi thinks that to eliminate the main master of the inner residence, this is the perfect plan. People start wondering what is happening and if the lord has suddenly gone mad, ordering everyone to run to the realm and provide support. Meanwhile, Z is outside and the protagonist inside moves the chains thinking he can enter the inner residence easily. At the main gate, the butler opens the car door and welcomes the second master and the young master. Shu complains, saying they're making a fuss just to carry him in their arms. The master replies that he was on his way to pick him up and tells the young lady to get out of the car. Two girls step out and the master greets them, until he notices something strange and strikes his subordinate, telling him not to block the way. They walk in. Outside, Qiao is hiding and watching. Yun approaches and asks what happened, if they can't enter because the family has returned, and why he has that look on his face. Z asks how he got there so fast. Che says that's a secret, explains that a realm lord, even at level 30, isn't easy to capture alive, and that without his interference, they wouldn't have subdued the creature so soon. Then asks if Qiao saw anything. Qiao answers that the man is his uncle, and that back then the traitor and his family were exterminated in a way meant to spare them even greater humiliation. Since then, the Qiao family has endured the Empire's constant malice, and under the secret orders of the hero, Ding Kun, the bullying became even worse. In the end, they could only become servants of the Ding family, brought out occasionally to showcase strength, surviving only thanks to their favor, living in submission and humiliation. The elders also wanted to change things, but the result was Qiao's father losing his mind and becoming a lunatic, while his uncle turned into the Ding family's dog. The protagonist looks at him, walks forward, and says he needs to go to the inner residence. Z warns him that Ding's father is inside, a fully equipped level 42, and that if he runs into him, he'll lose his life with no chance at all. Yun says that in an era where secret realms are under strict control, there is no hope of overturning anything without risk. And some things, if he hesitates, will never be done. He says he can help him change, but the choice must be his. Qiao says the other side is a powerful noble clan and asks if they can really fight against them. Qi answers that what he wants to face is the entire empire. Inside the residence, the master asks how the secret realm lord managed to escape. The blonde asks if the uncle is bothered and suggests visiting him another day. The master says there's no need, that his older brother can handle it, and that compared to a mere secret realm, Sha is far more important. He also says that upon hearing of his arrival, his father and his third brother are already on their way back, which is more than enough to control everything, and that they've already contacted the hero grandfather, who is eager to meet him. Qi, hidden, thinks the hero grandfather must be that same hero, remembering that entering his secret realm requires permission and an escort, and he notices the man's name is Yun, the same surname as his, wondering if that is a coincidence, deciding to focus on getting permission for now. The girl senses something. The maids walk by, and the protagonist takes the chance to move stealthily into an office. Outside the secret realm, inside the family complex, the lord announces he has finally subdued the realm lord. The family head says someone freed it with ill intent, but now that person has vanished, stating that risking so much can't be just for a rare item, and orders the inner residence to be sealed, thinking the young guest must not be disturbed. Meanwhile, Yun rummages through the office drawers, thinking there should be several items. Che uses his ability, and the system warns that displacement can remove brick-sized objects for 4 seconds. He opens another drawer and wonders if the book is a diary, and if the others are all high-quality skill books. The system notifies that slow light reduces enemy speed by 20% within a 20-meter radius. At the main gate, Chow watches and wonders why there are so many guards there, noticing the number increasing, concluding that if his partner doesn't get out now, he'll lose his chance to escape. If he stays and gets caught, they will have even more reasons to mistreat his family, so he decides to slip away quietly, remembering Che's words that he could help him, but the choice had to be his own. Chow suddenly shouts, the guards turn around and they start running after him. Z thinks he is distracting them and that his partner must make sure he isn't caught. The protagonist jumps through the window, shattering it, and thinks that Chow has finally overcome his own fear and chosen to resist, saying that the chains and skill books are with him, and that if they want them, they can try to catch him. The guards begin chasing him. Yun keeps moving forward as the Lord summons teams 2 and 3 and orders an immediate retreat to protect the Realm Lord, saying the intruder isn't fleeing outward but heading directly toward the secret realm. Chow doesn't understand why he drew everyone outside. Chi runs thinking that there are so many guards that all of them abandoned the central area, that the Lord must have been subdued recently, and controlling a Lord means there was a major battle, so its HP must be at the limit, and finishing it off will level up Mirror World. Inside the residence, the blonde drinks tea and comments that there is a huge commotion outside, saying there is no need for him to stay there accompanying her. The master says they are just small thieves, and that his older brother can deal with them easily. Outside, the guards complain that they are too slow. The Lord bursts forward at high speed and orders archers and fighters to follow him in pursuit of the intruder. The protagonist notices they are getting closer and thinks that every time a class levels up, it gains 3 attribute points, and he invested more than half into agility, besides having a skill that increases his own speed. Around level 30, only thieves and archers could keep up with him. The Realm Lord is tied down by a seal and fears being hurt, and as expected, this is the moment when it's weakest, requiring only full force to finish it with a single blow. The mage spots Yun and orders the group to form up. He rushes and activates Chaotic Thorn. The warriors look surprised and ask what that ability is since they've never seen it, commenting that it's some kind of abnormal status effect, and although humans are less resistant than monsters, inflicting status is still not easy. An explosion occurs and a voice asks how that is possible, saying the skill rate is absurd. Chi keeps running, passes through all of them, and thinks that by getting through that crowd, he'll reach the Realm Lord with its life at the limit. Another guard shouts that he's inside, asks where the control skills are, why the shield guards didn't block him, and complains that they shouldn't cast abilities on themselves because everything becomes chaos. The protagonist thinks they're an engine with no teamwork and wonders if they softened because of peace. A guard tells them to stand firm because he's just one man and orders them to tie him down. Peng charges forward saying he'll handle him. The flames released by the chief's body illuminate the seal. Yun stares at him, blocks the attack, and pulls the chain, thinking that even without meeting the level requirement to equip it and receive its bonus attributes, the durability is in the standard of a level 60 item. Explosions pile up and Che calculates that with that impact force, he should be able to pierce the seal's outer layer. The protagonist steps back and thinks he succeeded, thanking the opening. Yun moves with the blade, thinking the Realm Lord's experience will be his. He cuts the giant body, and the system notifies that his skill has leveled up to level 3 Mirror World, maximum experience reached. The chief watches in shock as he eliminates the giant monster so quickly, while Yun calmly taps through the interface checking Mirror World. Peng tries to attack him, but they realize he vanished. Yun is teleported somewhere else, wonders what space that is, and whether it's a world inside the mirror, noticing everything is flipped left to right compared to the real world. He believes the guards there are only illusions. Che picks up a stone and notices it isn't an illusion, wondering if it can be taken out, thinking that with the skill at level 2, he might be able to bring objects from Mirror World outside and that the system must have changed somehow. The protagonist looks at the list of abilities and wonders about the inactive ones. The system notifies that main body skills have not yet been learned. Yun deduces these are the inverted forms of all abilities but must be learned in the real world, first to activate the complete versions, concluding that ability inversion at level 1 is only a weak version of level 2. It seems he can now pre-select strong combinations to plan his progress. Che looks to the side and wonders if that is a soul and if there are others. Skeletons appear and the protagonist wonders if they were turned into undead. He raises his blade and cuts them easily, finding them weak. The system notifies that the undead contract can seal that soul, and once contracted, it can exit Mirror World and fight for him, with a limit equal to the soul's maximum level. Chi wonders about that contract and understands that by defeating undead, he will be able to summon them later. Not just stones. Mirror World at level 2 seems to allow bringing items and even undead into the real world. The protagonist looks at the souls above and finds it interesting. Meanwhile, outside, the warriors are confused, asking if the realm disappeared, why it hasn't reappeared, and how it simply vanished, speculating whether it could be navigator stealth. One of them says it's impossible because stealth has a physical form, a time limit, and wouldn't go unnoticed. The chief hits him, saying they let the intruder escape, and if they can't find him, he will personally demand to know who will pay for the lost secret realm. Then they look to the side and notice something. Yun realizes that Mirror World's time limit is over and wonders whether he should return to the same spot after exiting or if there are other conditions. Peng shouts that he's already back. Chi says he's in no hurry. After being beaten for so long, he deserves a bit of payback. The protagonist releases the undead and tells them to face his army. The warriors ask what those things are and if they are evil spirits. The chief says not to panic, claiming they are just undead monsters and that he has seen plenty of the same kind. They raise their shields and notice status bars, all around level 20. The chief smiles, saying there is nothing to fear and orders a counterattack, activating a collective buff that lifts their spirits. When the warriors charge, they notice Yun is no longer there and ask where he went. The protagonist is already slipping away, thinking those undead are still low level, and that if there were some higher level ones, that crowd would stand no chance. Among the undead he found, he already contracted the 20 strongest. But Mirror World has an exploration limit of only 200 meters from the entry point, so he'll need to enter from another location to search for stronger undead. Chi stays hidden until a warrior finds Chao, saying he really knows how to hide and asking if he thought they wouldn't find him, bragging that he has no idea what reward he'll get for capturing him. The pressure around increases. Z watches terrified, and the protagonist pulls him away, saying they're already outside and it's time to go back and divide the loot. Meanwhile, the skeletons fight the warriors, are knocked down easily, but revive right after. Noises echo with flashes of light, and the third master of the Ding family arrives, saying all those creatures are just summons, and that even if they revive, they must cost mana, so just kill them a few times. A lord asks if Miss Yun Miao has already returned. In the inner residence, one of the sons apologizes, saying he couldn't make her stay, that the intruder was too arrogant, yelled outside, and even broke windows. The great master complains that the intruder managed to enter the inner residence, that not only did they fail to capture him, but they don't even know what he looks like, asking what they were doing. The second master takes responsibility and says the young lady agreed to visit the hero's secret realm, so at least the matter with grandfather is settled. Kun says that when they discover who the intruder is, they will eliminate him and review everything that may have been stolen. Elsewhere, someone examines a temporary pass. It's the protagonist who obtained the pass, and he thinks he still needs someone to take him to the hero's secret realm. It isn't urgent since he reached level 20 inside Shu's house. The Chimera Bone Ring is almost broken, but he secured more than a dozen secret skill books, all support abilities that increase attributes. And with just that, he can already crush people of the same level. The system notifies a permanent increase in power, a passive skill, and corrupted knight armor. Yun thinks the Realm Lord left behind an equipment piece earlier and that he will be able to use it later. Most importantly, Mirror World leveled up, and along with it, the contracted undead became much stronger, but it is still not enough. Judging by the statue's equipment, that hero is at least from a berserker branch, and he will need to contract an undead of the same level and reach well over level 50 to have any chance of defeating him. Z says they will not pursue them. The protagonist answers not to worry, they were abandoned, and they didn't even show their faces. Chao lowers his head nervously, thinking he can't blame him, and asks if there are any secret realms nearby where strong people lost their lives. Yun says he wants to find a higher level secret realm to level up faster. Z says that if they're talking about realms where strong people died, there is one, but it belongs to the school and there's no chance of entering it secretly. Chi thinks that since it's a monopolized realm, he will have to resort to special means. The instructor looks at the books in his hand and asks if those are for himself, thinking that Yunchi must really have some kind of backing, and explains that access to the school's secret realm is scheduled in advance and exceptions can't be made, but that right now this realm is open for training students, and if a student is particularly exceptional, they can be recommended by a teacher to join the team, saying he will do his best to fight for that opportunity for him. A guard comments that this might be the last secret realm they will ever see in their lives and that they will have to face many monsters, and that if it weren't for the hero's gift, they would never have this chance. The protagonist looks at the map and thinks that this secret realm seems foreign. The instructor says it is the heroic secret realm gifted to the school by the hero, and that they say the hero himself fought there, and some traces may remain inside. Chao, with his head lowered, thinks about the heroic realm and wonders if it is the same realm where the hero eliminated the traitor John. concluding that he must tell his partner. The instructor continues explaining that the level of that realm is high, telling everyone to be careful, use their skills properly, and ordering Xiao Si to accompany the team. Z complains, asking how he is supposed to level up like that. The instructor tells him to stop whining and orders them to enter, because the realm is already open. Xiao, irritated, says this is so annoying that he now has to take care of 2 parasites, and that once they enter, the 2 must stay behind him so they don't get in the way. Yun walks down the stairs thinking that the realm is meant for levels between 20 and 40, and even so it seems far too dangerous. They enter the heroic secret realm. The warriors look around asking what that place is, and why Yunsha and Yun Yin are there too, saying they aren't supposed to be in lower-level realms. Z complains that even those 2 lower-level girls showed up there as well, and that if Yunsha and the other one stayed by his side, it would be great, because he always feels more motivated around girls. Maybe he could even try something. The knight cuts off his fantasies, telling him to stop dreaming, reminding him that they are above level 30, far above him, and that they must be begging to get carried, adding that he is nowhere near their level. Xiao says he knows and looks to the side. The 2 girls walk straight toward the protagonist. He finds it strange and wonders who they think he is, remembering that one of them was a guest of the Ding family, someone with high status, and tries to understand whether they knew the original owner of that body or if they're defending Ding. Yun Yin says she saw him at the memorial yesterday, praises his movements, and says his voice is quite unique. Che, still confused, wonders if this is just casual conversation. The blonde approaches, saying that's why she recognized him so easily, even with the sound of breaking glass. The protagonist thinks she recognized him from the 2 sentences he shouted yesterday. Yun Yin finishes the greeting and says, that's all for today. Her partner states it's time for them to explore. Yun thinks they recognized him but didn't expose him, and Ding might also have recognized the voice. But as long as the Ding family doesn't act too soon, everything will be fine. And with his evolution speed, he'll soon have nothing to worry about. Since they were kind, he'll repay them with a warning. He tells the 2 to be careful because that secret realm has a dangerous vibe. Yun Yin frowns and says that now that he mentions it, something really does feel strange there. And considering their level, this shouldn't be happening, thanking him for the warning. People nearby find it odd and ask why she's acting like that with him since she's usually distant. The warrior asks how he knows Yunsha, and the hooded boy asks if they can be introduced as well. The protagonist says goodbye, saying he has to keep going. The warrior asks if he's going alone, and reminds him that the monsters there are at least level 20, telling him that as beginning-of-year students, he and his partner might lose their lives to a simple mob. Z says to let them go, saying that if he has any familiarity with Yunsha, then he's probably not weak. The warrior argues that the teacher asked them to look after the 2 and that she doesn't know how someone so low-level could help. The protagonist tells them not to forget the real reason they are there, and that the fewer people know about that area, the better. Z asks if he wants to split that with them, saying that everyone has a distress signal and they can just ignore them, and wonders why a nobody like that is standing beside Yunsha, concluding that since he thinks he's strong, he deserves to lose his life in there. At the realm's entrance, the instructor asks if Shu is looking for someone and what he's doing there. Ding arrives asking if a team just entered. The instructor confirms and asks what he wants. Shu remembers that he told his father about Yun and Qiao, and that the master said they waited for him at the memorial but not to blame anyone, and that he has no time for trouble at the moment. Shu insists, saying they were the ones who broke in and that he recognized their voices. Peng retorts that if intruders escaped from him and so many guards, that's not something a student could do. Ji says he'd need to prove they are stronger than guards to get any help. Kun ends the discussion, saying they are having a serious conversation and not to interrupt. Returning to the present, Shu says he is entering the realm too. Inside, blows echo as the protagonist uses the blade with intense force. Enemy attacks appear and Yun orders his partner to activate the surrounding shield. The system shows that surrounding shield consumes 40 mana, lasts 3 minutes, creates a set of liquid shields with 500 durability and 700 defense, with an inspiration buff that increases attack by 5% and attack speed by 5%. Chi moves forward with the blade and cuts the monster in half, and new notifications show attack power increased by 70 due to Trick Blade, with 7 seconds remaining, along with a level up. Z gets excited when he sees he also leveled up once more. The protagonist thinks that among the skill books obtained from the Ding family, there were surrounding shield and encouraging shout, practical abilities that his partner can already use at his current level. Although the monsters there are a bit stronger, having reliable support helps a lot. The teacher had mentioned that there is a rare monster in that realm, the Obsidian Beast, which can drop a support skill called Gravitational Pull. The system displays the list of possible skills: Phase Technique, Invisibility, Featherfall, Poisonous Milk, and Gravitational Pull. Yun thinks that that was precisely the mandatory skill he had marked in the mirror world. He also thinks about the undead and where those strong ones might have lost their lives in that secret realm, hoping to find them in the highlands. Chi widens his eyes when he sees something floating in front of him, many of them, and keeps watching, realizing that so many elite radiant stone beasts moving together have already advanced at least a kilometer, far beyond the normal range of wandering monsters. Rare monsters in secret realms do not respawn in fixed places and roam everywhere, being much stronger than common monsters. Back when humanity was still weak, encountering wanderers meant preparing for a tough fight, since they could even wander outside secret realms, causing countless disasters. But proportional to the risk, defeating them always granted more experience and better loot. As Yun attacks, he realizes those monsters are way too strong, and he can only explore them for now. He sees continuous healing lights, and the attacks begin to fall on them. Che tries to dodge but gets hit and thinks their attacks are fast and frequent, and that in that situation, even speed can't dodge everything. His HP and defense are low, and if not for his partner's shield, he would have been seriously hurt. The protagonist summons his undead but realizes they are useless there. Not even the undead can stop them. Fortunately, the Wanderer's movements are still slow. Yun retreats and thinks his HP and defense attributes won't improve quickly. So, to defeat those monsters, he will have to rely on his partner's growing defense and tells Chao to defeat some normal monsters first. Chi remembers he saw many monsters in the highlands earlier, perfect for leveling up. In team battles, the shield bearer is always the indispensable frontline while other classes stay behind him and deal damage protected. Since then, all of his partner's attribute points have been invested in defense, combined with the armor looted from the Ding family guards. Now he at least has the basic abilities of a good shield bearer and can already block attacks from level 20 monsters. The protagonist tells him to lower his body, stabilize his stance, and rotate the shield toward the impact. Chao does exactly that and says durability dropped less than before. Yun warns him to pay attention to the second attack. The monster hits Z and sends him sliding across the ice, and Che immediately slashes the monster, saying it's necessary to stay aware of the next attack and not overswing the shield, leaving room to react to the next heavy blow, staying alert but keeping the body relaxed until the exact moment of defense. He keeps guiding him, reminding him that a shield bearer must always be aware of the allies behind him. Chao smiles. They block more attacks, and the protagonist says to remember that when the difference is small, technique determines victory or defeat. Yun sees that Z leveled up and can now face enemies with confidence, gaining even more experience. Z reaches level 15 and finally learns a new skill. The system notifies that the shield plating skill book adds external plating, increasing durability by 400 and defense by 512. Chi thinks this is the last useful book Chao can learn from the Ding family loot, adding external armor to the summoned shield. With this upgrade, it's enough to handle an elite wanderer. 3 warriors approach, commenting on how many elite wanderers there are and asking where they came from, saying it's too dangerous for students and that they need to deal with it because they're part of the teacher's team. They say they can handle normal level 30 monsters, but those wanderers are another story. Suddenly, a light shines above. The teachers recognize it as a distress signal and say they need to rescue the students first, but also say that the wanderers there are dangerous. And if the students find one unknowingly, they could lose their lives. The elder confirms it is true and says that's why he will stay behind. The other teacher says he will stay too in case something happens. The protagonist says that actually they should be the ones keeping watch on that side and that the distress signal may have been activated because of the wanderers. He states that only 2 teachers won't be enough. The wanderers are still moving slowly and haven't seen them, so if they just observe from a distance, they'll be fine, telling the teachers to go ahead. The teachers say they understand and move forward, warning that those monsters are extremely dangerous and that they must not act on their own, telling them to hide well because if they are seen, they won't escape. Yun replies that actually it's the monsters who won't escape. Chi releases his undead, but they are crushed by the wanderers, far too strong to be blocked. The protagonist charges forward with speed, approaches the enemy and cuts it in half, eliminating it. Yun thinks he successfully took down a wanderer and is adapting more and more to that class. But compared to his previous life, he is still far from it. Even though the use of inverted abilities greatly increases his attack, his base is still a support class, and his natural attack remains low. And he thinks that if he could raise his attack power a bit more, it would be perfect. The system notifies him about the rat and hostage eradication squad. Soldier's Oath. Chi thinks he leveled up again, as expected from an elite rare monster since the experience gained is extremely high and the system tells him to pick up the dropped items. When the smoke dissipates, several notifications appear and the protagonist looks at a high attack weapon, thinking it fills exactly the gap in his base attack and will make battles much easier. He regrets that gravitational pull didn't drop, it seems the drop rate is low, but if he gets lucky again and finds more wanderers, he might obtain it. He notices that this is not the same place as the previous distress signal and wonders if this time it is a special signal used only by teachers. The teachers watch from afar and ask why 50 wanderer types are gathering there. A massive herd of monsters appears. Yunsha comments that it's strange for so many monsters to gather at that point and asks what happened. The teacher replies that they don't know, they only followed the signal to help and that it came from the cave, so the students are probably trapped inside. He explains they are organizing a rescue, but there are too many monsters and even all the teachers are not enough. He says that if the two of them can also help, it will be perfect because it is their duty. The blonde summons a star, releasing a wave of power that boosts everyone's mental power and attack. The people say that buff is absurdly strong, at least epic. Attacks start being released and Yun Yin also uses her power, surprising everyone with her strength. And then they say that with them, it will be possible to rescue the students inside the cave. The protagonist watches from afar and thinks that not only is their equipment top tier, but their skills as well, and that even without him, they will be able to deal with everything. He wonders what exactly is happening in there, what could cause so many wanderers to gather, and then says he will go inside to take a look, telling his partner to stay with the others. Yun walks and realizes the whole cave is made of crystals, all reflective, which means he can enter the mirror world. He thinks he still hasn't had time to figure out the mechanism for returning to the real world. Since yesterday at the Ding residence when the time limit ended, he wasn't able to enter again. He wonders if people have reflections and monsters don't, but monster corpses remain intact and also have reflections. He thinks maybe he is the only living being with physical form inside the mirror world. Looking deeper, he sees that the students seem to have intentionally activated the wanderers and then signaled for help, using the narrow terrain to resist and stall for time. For now, they are not in immediate danger. He wonders what in that place could attract so many wanderers and realizes it is hard to distinguish pathways with so many crystals around. Looking more closely, he sees something ahead and notices that there is special crystal ore there, understanding why Z and the others ended up in that cave. Unlike common crystals from the outside world, secret realms produce unique raw materials used by professionals to create equipment, accessories, and special items. And that ore is exactly that, worth much more than gold. The system notifies mirror crystal ore, saying it can be taken to the real world. Yun thinks about returning to the real world through that surface and concludes that as long as something reflective exists, he can return through it. He thinks that ability still has a lot to discover and that he will need time to study it, but for now, he will continue exploring. He sees the absurd amount of ore and concludes that if someone managed to mine everything, they would become a billionaire, and finally understands why so many wanderers were attracted to that place. Yun Yin advances while attacks emerge from the other side and activates dual-edge dance. At the same instant, her partner releases Star Rain, creating a shock of lights that leaves everyone around completely stunned. People watch every movement and ask if their abilities are really epic level or something even higher, trying to understand how they can be so powerful and even commenting that they easily surpass the teachers themselves. The two keep attacking without pause, cutting and tearing monsters into pieces, and even with the battle ongoing, everyone still shows surprise. The mage comments that they are finally saved, while Z admits he thought he was going to die right there. Yun Yin, however, warns everyone not to let their guard down, saying they still need to clear a path if they want to get out alive. Yunsha says it's easier than before, but when she looks to the side, she sees everyone frozen in fear as they spot thousands of monsters ahead. And someone asks if all the wanderer types in the secret realm were attracted to that one place. In the mirror world, lights begin to shine and pieces of stone fall from above as the protagonist looks up and sees a giant glowing flower. Yun wonders if that is the hidden treasure of the secret realm and concludes that if the crystal ores are special products of this place, then that crystal core must be the final form, the crystallized essence that gathers everything. It is something that takes a long time to appear and might not show up even in a lifetime, which is why a hidden treasure always possesses unique and extremely valuable functions. It increases attributes, reduces damage, accelerates mana circulation, allows faster accumulation of trick blades, increases magic resistance, and even offers around 20% reduction against light electric damage, something almost impossible to find even in top-tier equipment. However, just as crystal ore attracts wanderer types, a hidden treasure should attract a creature even more powerful than all those that have appeared so far. Meanwhile, on the other side, everyone is terrified by the echoing noise, something heavy moving among the rocks, until a colossal monster appears. It is the Wanderer-type Lord, a rare hidden boss that appears regardless of the natural lords of secret realms, and whose strength far surpasses any common lord, far beyond what teachers and students can handle. A voice asks why a monster like that would be in a school's secret realm and says that if things continue like this, everyone there will die. Yunsha assesses the situation and orders everyone to stay calm, saying that now the most important thing is to escape together. She points to the canyon and states that it's possible to leave the basin through there, and that once they are outside, it will be much easier to escape. So she orders everyone to attack with full strength in that direction. The professor, surrounded by mana, says that at the very least he needs to get the students out and that he will go first while the others rotate the lead. The warriors attack the boss, creating strong impacts and flashes of light, but some are already getting surrounded by monsters and raise barriers to block strikes until the Lord lifts its head and releases a thunderous roar, a war cry that reorganizes all surrounding wanderers. The monsters become more alert and begin attacking together with much stronger blows. A warrior's shield is shattered instantly, and he says their attack power increased too much and he can't heal fast enough. An old man beside him is hit repeatedly and cries for help, while a desperate student says the professor was killed. Yunsha, already in combat stance, orders shield bearers to the front and tells the healers to prioritize the shield users, realizing that everyone has spent too much mana already and now can barely stand, while the Lord hasn't even truly acted yet. A nearby warrior says that at this rate they will never break through and decides it's better for everyone to try to escape on their own, running straight into the monsters. The blonde tells everyone not to follow him, explaining that stealth won't last long enough and he won't get out of there. Soon after, a very loud sound fills the area as the Lord releases an intense glow, revealing its true power. The blonde dodges by a hair and says the monster almost turned him to ashes. When the smoke dissipates, the knight observes that the attack destroyed the canyon as well, completely eliminating their only escape route. The monster's light grows brighter and the knight believes it's over, feeling that his turn has come. The girls move forward and activate their shields while the system displays the defense stats, and Yunsha orders those with high strength to hold the line, explaining that the shield is level 70 equipment, sturdy and reliable, but difficult to use properly due to its level. Z, terrified, asks why the school's secret realm would have a monster like that. The blonde looks to the side and thinks that he fought so hard to save everyone earlier, and wonders if now everything will be wasted, imagining that at least those two kids probably didn't come and aren't involved at the moment. When he looks again, he realizes the boy standing there is the student from the back row and asks why he shouldn't be on the other side of the valley, unable to understand how he ended up near the fight. A voice shouts for caution and Z summons his encircling shield, but the blonde is struck in the arm and assumes the defenses around them were broken first since no one was left to stop those wanderer types. Chow blocks another attack from the monster and the blonde watches in shock, thinking he had no idea that kid had that much power, especially now that all the shield bearers' shields are destroyed. Z's shield also breaks and he ends up injured. The blonde thinks there's no way to save anyone anymore. The protagonist approaches, cutting the monster to pieces. The blonde stares, stunned, and Yun comments that his partner performed well. Chow is on the ground but smiles upon seeing him, and Che tells him to leave the rest to him. In the real world, moments earlier, the protagonist had been standing before the flower, thinking that besides the crystal core hidden in the mirror world, there is also an original one in the real world, and that from now on his gains will double, though removing the crystal ores is extremely difficult. The system notifies that he is about to leave the mirror world, saying there is not enough time to extract all the ore and that he must choose which portion to take. Yun thinks that even a single crystal requires around 10 minutes inside the mirror path and decides to take only the mirror core, the most valuable one for now. The pressure rises, Che feels a tremor, and wonders if something happened. The protagonist moves forward and thinks to check whether he can return to the mirror world in time. Yun walks across the surface and realizes that while time flows there, he can freely enter and exit, and when all the time is used up, the cooldown begins. A massive attack erupts, and Che exits the mirror world, facing numerous monsters. The protagonist wonders why there are even more enemies, since even if drawn by the crystal ore, this quantity is unusual. He recognizes the presence of another Wanderer Lord and thinks that his partner and everyone else are in danger, since he can enter and exit the mirror world to try helping. Yun then appears again in the real world, coming out quickly, and notices that this means he can dodge attacks far more easily. He is level 24 with 140 total mana and magical recovery of 2.6 per second, thanks to the core's bonus, allowing him to raise his attack power to around 330%. It's impressive, but against a Wanderer Lord even stronger than a domain boss, he will still need to reach at least level 30. In the mirror world, Che thinks he still has a path to follow. The knights move, and outside the mirror world, the protagonist cuts another monster and tells his partner he did a good job and can leave the rest to him. Yun enters and leaves the mirror world while Che continues attacking the monster and asks anyone with support skills to cast buffs, saying he will deal with the Wanderer spawn. Yunsha releases her magical star trick. Z activates his shield ring type armor. The protagonist keeps advancing and destroying enemies, thinking that there really is an absurd quantity of them. But after using the crystal core, his HP is many times higher, and light electric damage is reduced by 40%, so he is no longer in immediate danger. The problem is that these monsters are immune to confusion, otherwise he would eliminate them much faster. People look on in shock, asking if they are seeing right and why his status bar is so high, commenting that he moves far too fast. The blonde watches and thinks he truly is strong and that he worried for nothing earlier. With his blade, Yun executes rapid movements and thinks that with so many rare monsters together, it's much easier to level up. Yunsha watches and admits she thought he was just a bold thief, but realizes his strength surpasses her expectations. Yun Yin is also surprised as Che eliminates monsters and levels up, and someone asks if that guy is even a support anymore because he's way too strong. The blonde says he's seen him before and believes he's just a student, leaving everyone even more shocked. The boss starts emitting a very loud sound and the warrior warns that this is bad, he's about to attack again. The boss releases an extremely powerful strike. The protagonist manages to dodge by instinct and thinks that even now, if he were hit, he wouldn't survive. And now the boss is moving, and once it gets close, even those two shields will not be enough to protect them. The blonde notices there are fewer monsters ahead and says they need to move quickly through to the other exit because when the Wanderer Lord approaches, it will be too late. He knows that no matter how strong Yun is, there is no chance of facing the Wanderer Lord directly. The warrior comments that those two shields are hard to move, and if they cross now, they will be completely exposed to attacks. People talk among themselves until Yun says to leave it to him, stating he will attack to draw the aggro and that they should use the chance to escape. The blonde asks about him, and Che thinks that if they don't deal with the Wanderer Lord now, it will gather every monster in the domain and could reach the outside world, remembering that almost all major past disasters were caused by Wanderer Lords. That's why he decides to stay and eliminate the monster. The blonde starts running and tells everyone to flee quickly, saying that no matter how strong that boy is, surrounded by so many monsters and the Wanderer Lord, he will inevitably run out of strength. And if they escape fast, he will also have a chance to survive. The warrior asks if he didn't say he would kill the Lord, and the blonde replies he only said that to calm everyone down because that thing is truly a Wanderer Lord. Chow looks back feeling frustrated, realizing he can only run and hoping his partner won't put himself in danger. Meanwhile, the protagonist keeps attacking monsters and leveling up while entering and exiting the mirror world. Yun moves toward the boss and realizes its defense is extremely high, and the little damage he manages to cause is instantly restored by the creature's recovery ability, concluding he still needs to grow. He notices the crystal on its head and thinks that must be the core, the real weak point, but admits his attack power isn't enough yet. Che slices off a chunk of the monster but notices his buffs are ending. His MP is nearly gone, and he won't be able to sustain Trick Blade much longer, needing to level up before that. A bright light crosses the field and the protagonist's eyes widen as he sees the monster's giant hand coming toward him. He retreats quickly, wondering if the creature can already predict where he will appear. The monster unleashes its power, and the system notifies that he was expelled from the mirror world, cutting his HP by half, and Che realizes it is a large-scale, continuous attack. The remaining time in the mirror path is almost gone, and if he relies only on that to dodge, he will run out of time quickly. So he considers using undead to block part of the impact, though he knows he will need them later to stack attack power, and hesitates whether he should retreat first. Then he looks to the side and sees the two girls and someone else, asking why they ended up there. Yunsha answers that their little brother insisted so much that they had no choice but to come help him. Z comments that they have enough people to ensure everyone escapes. Yun thanks them, and the blonde says the hidden boss is still extremely dangerous, stating she will cover him while he retreats slowly. Che says it isn't necessary and that with her help he no longer needs to restrain himself. The protagonist levels up to 30 and thinks that now his attack power is enough, feeling his armor respond to the new level. The system shows his equipment stats, and Yunsha asks if he's really going to try reaching the weak point on top of the monster, saying at that height, it looks impossible. Yun grabs the book and thinks he finally got what he wanted, and the system informs that his gravitational pull skill consumes 10 mana per second, pulling the target forward and becoming stronger as his strength increases, and the object's weight decreases. Che concludes it's a skill that brings him directly to the target and says everything is under control. The protagonist gathers mana in his hand and activates his rigid traction skill, launching himself forward quickly. The two sisters watch in shock as powerful attacks explode around them. The light intensifies and Yun's HP drops by 107, but he moves with speed until he breaks the enemy's body into pieces. The system notifies that the Wanderer Lord was defeated, that he received bonus experience, the title Wanderer Slayer, the legendary books Golden Light Barrier and Angel's Blessing, plus another level. Chao says he is truly strong, and Yunsha, stunned, says he defeated such a terrifying monster alone. The protagonist notices two legendary items on the ground. Yun stands on the monster's body when it begins to collapse, and the blonde warns him to be careful. Che jumps back quickly and the gigantic body crashes down right after. The protagonist looks to the side and notices something strange, wondering if that is a hollow mountain. Yun observes and says it looks like an even stronger Wanderer Lord was born there long ago, which explains the intense battle marks, and asks what exactly that means. Beside them is Yi, who had been killed. Che remains standing before the statue as Yunsha asks if that person is the traitor Benben, saying she heard he was killed there by the hero Ding Kun, but didn't expect to find that situation. She comments that the marks clearly come from fighting countless monsters and people, unlike the statues in the Modern History Memorial Hall, since it doesn't look like someone simply trampled. The protagonist stays quiet and Chao says that they might not believe it, but he feels his great-grandfather might not have been such a bad man. He explains that since childhood he researched everything about his ancestors' history and that whenever he reached two specific events, the descriptions were always vague, yet he still found some details. He says his great-grandfather used to enter dungeons that didn't match his level and wonders why a rank S, a professional above level 60, would enter a low-level dungeon. He concludes it's because that dungeon could produce a Wanderer Lord. He explains that Wanderer Lords are the source of catastrophes that cause monsters to leave dungeons, and remembers that in the past, since there weren't enough armies to stop the monsters from roaming, they depended on strong and responsible professionals to clear dungeons regularly, and that his great-grandfather did exactly that, coming to extinguish disasters early. He says that many think he's imagining things. Even his family says he's just seeking comfort, so he reads between the lines. Yun places a hand on his shoulder and says he believes him, while the two girls watch and everyone stays in silence. Che thinks that Benben truly didn't seem like that kind of person. The protagonist remembers when they were kids, and Benben said he didn't need a master and that the old man should retire early, and also remembers when monsters were about to kill him, and Benben asked his master to save him, and after being saved, asked who asked for that and told him not to do it again. Later, when they were older, Benben asked if he had been discovered again, saying he was the type who trained in secret and then showed off. To ease the mood, he commented that the dungeons he visited weren't life-threatening and asked why he had chosen Swordguard as his class, saying it was the weakest advancement among shield-bearers. At the same time, he admitted that because he put all his points into strength and speed, no other shield profession could keep up with him and that he really could carry. He says he encountered so many Wanderer breeds he just couldn't resist grinding, and regarding saving people, said it happened along the way. In the present, Yun thinks that because of that, he will settle things with the Ding family. Elsewhere, Jay asks if what he said is true, and Shu replies yes, saying that if he doesn't believe it, he can ask the teacher in charge of the dungeon, stating that that boy is truly impressive. He says he tried to enter the dungeon but was blocked by the teacher guarding the entrance, and when people came out, they commented that from a distance they saw a Wanderer Lord fall. There was a great commotion and they believed that the person who killed it was Yun, which made Shu wonder what his real identity is. In the present, the Ding family remains seated in silence. Jia orders the Ding family guards to be summoned and says he will go with them to the traitor's dungeon, but asks first whether they hadn't said the Chao family was involved too, telling them to bring those people as well. Meanwhile, in the dungeon, the protagonist holds the Golden Light Barrier skill book and hands it to his partner, saying he already learned the technique and that it has no level requirement. Yunsha asks if that really is a legendary skill and comments that he just handed it over like that, and Yun replies that it's a skill exclusive to shield bearers, and he wouldn't be able to learn it anyway, maybe because his great-grandfather used that skill often. The blonde says he truly lacks no powerful skills since his techniques are already high level, but there's still a massive gap when compared to what he does, be it his sudden disappearance ability or his capacity to summon so many undead. Chi thinks about the summons and remembers that his undead are transformed from souls and that, besides him, other souls also go to the mirror world. The protagonist notices he still has time left inside the mirror and wonders if he can use it. Yun looks upward and sees a knight. Yun Yin tells her sister that they need to leave, reminding her that she has the audience ceremony later, while Yunsha says obviously this is far more interesting and asks what he's doing since he vanished for so long and hasn't come back. Che remains in the mirror world observing Benben's spirit and says he never imagined they would meet again, that there are so many things he would like to tell him. A dark mist begins rising around Benben's spirit and devours it, making the protagonist step back as he thinks that Ben truly turned into an undead and that he doesn't want to fight him. Ben stares at him and old memories begin surfacing before them, making Yun wonder if that is his experience. Chi keeps watching and questions why that stance feels so familiar to himself. Structures around them begin to crack with a loud noise, and the protagonist, not understanding anything, asks what is happening and calls out to him. Ben's spirit, now surrounded by a terrifying aura, charges forward to attack him. Yun blocks the strikes and thinks this is only an instinctive battle, concluding he might need to retreat, but the system notifies that he cannot leave that area of the mirror world, and Che understands he has no choice but to fight. Meanwhile, on the other side, Qiao watches in fear. Jet arrives with his men and asks why he is alone there, insinuating that he noticed his attempt to run when he saw them approaching, and saying that would take half the fun away. Z asks why they are there and if they are also training. Jed tells him not to pretend and asks if he had not entered his house with Yun to steal. Qiao denies it, saying he is mistaken, and Shu asks if he thinks they wouldn't recognize his screams. Z, nervous, starts sweating while Ge comments that it no longer matters, stating that he brought them a gift. Qiao grows even more frightened. His family appears beside them, the grandfather, uncle, aunt, grandmother, and mother. The old man orders him to kneel and apologize to the hero family. Z refuses, and the old man says that ever since he was young, he taught him to behave properly before the Ding family and orders him to kneel. Qiao, irritated, asks if he wants the Qi family to be the Ding family's dogs for generations. The pressure in the area increases and a young man bows, saying that as descendants of sinners and traitors, being treated as dogs would already be a blessing. The old woman asks if he wants the entire family to be wiped out and tells him to think of his father, saying that in his mental state his mother is struggling alone to keep everything together. Z stares at them and tells them to look at the truth behind all of this, explaining that his great-grandfather entered that secret realm only to resolve a catastrophe early, and that he only sacrificed himself because so many attacked him back then. He says he spent his life gathering information about his great-grandfather but never had decisive proof, and now it is right there before them, saying his great-grandfather was not a villainous traitor. He states that the truth is completely different from the propaganda they spread, and that once revealed, his ancestor's name can be cleared and they will no longer have to live that way, insisting that the Ding family has no right to treat them like this, and that the families of his grandfather, uncle, and second uncle should not have been wiped out for it. Ji starts laughing and says that no matter how childish it sounds, everything he said is exactly how it is, and that what he says is true. He states that his great-grandfather was indeed eliminated in an ambush and was not actually a villain, but that his own grandfather rose to power because of that ambush. He asks who would care about that now, saying Ben was considered an imperial traitor and deserved to be vilified, and that they, as descendants of traitors, deserve to be treated that way. He says that the whole family knew about it and asks how he thinks those people he mentioned were executed. He then orders everyone to kneel. The Qin family kneels and the old woman, crying, begs Z to admit the fault and stop resisting, saying she does not want to lose her son after everything that happened to his father and that she cannot endure anymore. Qiao remembers his mother's words telling him not to listen to them because he was the best. Shu smiles and tries to kick him, calling him slow and ignorant, telling him that whether he wants to or not, he will kneel. Z grabs his leg and throws him violently to the ground, saying he will never kneel again. Shu sighs, grabs his weapon, and asks how he dared to cut him, saying he will remind him how a punching bag is supposed to behave. Qiao reacts faster, strikes Shu, and leaves him stunned, not understanding how that was possible. Z calls out to his mother and says they are true descendants of heroes. Qiao lands a punch on his opponent and says they are descendants of heroes while Ge watches from the side. Shu, holding his head, asks how he could suddenly become stronger if he used to be nothing but a punching bag who had been beaten since childhood. Shu keeps advancing, trying to hit him in any way he can, but Z blocks and dodges every strike until he knocks his opponent to the ground. The family watches, and Qiao states that he is no longer the person he used to be. In the mirror world, the protagonist faces his enemy and thinks that this is Ben's complete form, realizing that the difference between them is now enormous. If not for his defensive class and the fact that Ben lacks consciousness, he would have been completely suppressed already. Still, every combat technique was taught by him and he knows every weakness. But Ben has the defense of a post-level 60 class transfer, and even with stacked trick blades, he loses very little HP. A light appears and the incoming attack approaches. Yun activates his golden legendary skill, the light barrier, to block it, thinking the situation is troublesome as a massive impact erupts. Meanwhile, Shu gets up and keeps insisting on attacking him, but Qiao strikes first and knocks him down again. Jie releases power into his hands and asks if he still can't beat that brat. The third master of the Ding family steps forward saying he will take out his anger himself. When Gi is about to attack, he senses something and asks if that is a golden light barrier. Z, inside the barrier with Shu, tells him to stay outside and just watch. Attacks continue, and as the protagonist fights, he uses the golden light barrier thinking that his defense does not rely solely on the user's attributes. As long as the damage does not exceed twice its tolerance, it can withstand about 10 attacks. But it is a consumable skill. Even the smallest hit drains energy, and when that energy runs out, 10 attacks are enough to break it. The barrier shatters and Jay asks what difference that makes, saying that not even when Ben used that technique did he care. Qiao keeps attacking Shu and says that if Shu's great-grandfather were there, he would be kneeling and begging for mercy. Noises echo, and someone asks if he is talking about that useless man who died in a low-level secret realm, adding that even if he had come, he would have kneeled anyway. Many stones fall, Z gets injured, and the third master walks toward his mother, who becomes desperate and says her son is just an ignorant youth, begging them to spare him as she kneels and says they can do whatever they want with her. G becomes excited upon hearing that and asks what the brat thinks of that, saying that if he does not kneel, he will cut the mother, but then says to forget it because there are many people he can cut. Qiao tells him to wait, and a massive impact occurs, making Z widen his eyes. When the smoke clears, everyone is shocked, and Gi freezes, asking if that is Ben. A silhouette blocked the attack, and the woman calls him grandfather. People around ask if he is resurrected and if finishing them allows them to return, while an old woman says that form resembles that of a lich. The protagonist approaches saying that everyone despised him before and that it was obvious he would return from hell to settle the score. The third master observes and says he is showing off, ordering his men to capture him. They rush forward, but Ben blocks and counterattacks. The old man is impressed and asks if that is John. Z thinks that this blocking technique, stopping so many guards at once, is incredible. G says that is just the undead the protagonist summoned and that he has seen many similar ones at home, all around level 33, claiming that even John's undead are still trash. Ben charges at him and the two exchange blows, while the third master comments that blocking techniques mean nothing before absolute power. A light is fired toward him and Gya asks if it is another golden light barrier. A voice comments that even as an undead, Ben is still an S-class, and that just the golden light barrier alone is enough to keep him busy for half a day, and if they all attack together, they will drain his energy fast. The third master watches the undead fighting his soldiers and says that this is only a temporary problem, stating that summoned creatures are easily dealt with by eliminating the summoner, as everything will vanish. Jia approaches using his power, thinking he possesses high-class treasures his grandfather gave him, and believing he can handle this, until someone moves quickly and cuts him. The third master tries to attack with the draining claw but no longer sees his opponent and wonders if he disappeared, until the protagonist drives his sword into his back. The pressure rises so intensely that Yun is forced to retreat. John draws his own sword and charges together with Che, cutting the enemy again while Gae calls them trash. The protagonist moves his blade swiftly, cutting the opponent over and over, and amid the strikes, the third master loses one of his hands and orders the priest to heal him. Yun approaches, but when Ge tries to hit him, Che vanishes and backs away, asking what is wrong and whether he is afraid. The third master screams demanding healing, but the priest beside him is nearly at his limit. The undead have eliminated most of the soldiers, and the protagonist asks if he still thinks his undead are as weak as the ones he saw at his house, saying that with a legendary skill buff, they are far beyond what those guards could withstand, a power obtained from a wandering lord. Ge smiles and tries to run, but a gigantic sword appears in front of him, blocking his path. The third master tries to escape in another direction, but also finds the way sealed. Echoing noises ring out as multiple giant swords begin to surround him. Yun approaches and uses his sword guard skill, absolute sword formation and absolute sword shield formation, stating that no one below S-class has ever escaped from it, and that he can try again if he wants. G raises an item and tells him not to come closer, revealing a void bomb, saying his grandfather gave him that S-class item, and that if it explodes along with his level and HP, it will certainly kill him. Chi tells him to go ahead and blow himself up. The third master asks if he is trying to take his own life, and says that even if his HP drops to 0, he will survive, and the protagonist replies that even if Ben explodes, he can resurrect him again, but the third master cannot even hit him. Yun cuts off his other arm, the item drops to the ground, and Che orders him to kneel. Jay kneels while Z watches from a distance, smiling, and Shu is severely injured. The protagonist places his sword against the third master's neck and asks what value he thinks he still has. Then Yun examines the system and notices the huge variety of items, remarking that there are even hundreds of health potions, But with their recovery speed, even if they had used them earlier, it would have been nothing but a drop in his health bar, and he would have died anyway. After finishing him, his soul appeared in the mirror world and he received it as an undead, realizing that he can indeed expand his advanced undead by eliminating enemies, but tells himself he will keep that life for now because it might be useful later. The old man says he is so young yet so strong, and that he must have guided Z, commenting that his inner strength has grown immensely. The family asked what they should do now, saying that with the 3 clan leaders dead, the Ding family will surely retaliate and they are doomed, stating that even though the young man is strong, once a hero moves, there will be no way to survive, since heroes could have eliminated the grandfather decades ago and now would be even stronger. The protagonist thinks that indeed, if what happened there is discovered, he won't have enough time to become stronger and needs to reach the necessary level to face Ding-kun as fast as possible. The system notifies him of the soldier level and Yun wonders if he leveled up, observing that sending the undead to finish monsters separately really worked, and that with their current levels and equipment, they can act freely there. However, that secret realm is no longer enough to sustain his rapid leveling, which is why he had another reason for sending them. He found the Lord of the Secret Realm. Unlike a wandering lord or a hidden boss, a secret realm lord is the core of the entire realm, and upon defeating him, the secret realm is cleared and disappears with him. The entrance to that realm is guarded by his teacher, and when the Chow family was brought by Ding Lao-san, they were certainly seen. If the Chow family leaves now, it will look suspicious. By clearing the secret realm and making it disappear, the Chow family can escape in the chaos, preventing the Ding family from confirming Ding Lao-san's death and buying time. The system notifies the level up and says, the secret realm lord has been defeated and the realm released. The family realizes the secret realm is vanishing. The protagonist says the disappearance of the realm will cause chaos, and that this will prevent the Ding family from immediately reacting to Ding Lao-san's disappearance, telling them to use the chaos to escape and that they won't be in danger for a while. And if they are pressured, they can simply hand him over. Yun thinks about the undead's memory. Che reads the system information and thinks that to raise the mirror world to level 3, he needs to eliminate secret realm lords. The latest update strengthened him immensely, and if he levels up again, he may quickly close the gap between himself and Ding-kun. The private secret realm of a rich man appears ahead, and the knight asks if they really need to be so serious, commenting that no one would dare enter a private secret realm and that they could simply play cards outside. A light flashes, and the knight looks back saying he feels as if someone is right behind him, wondering if it is just an illusion. The protagonist thinks that civilian guards rarely go past level 30-something, and that these private secret realms are practically undefended for him. He is almost there, about to eliminate Ding-kun, but before that he needs to restrain himself and remain calm, because keeping calm means making fewer mistakes. Yun eliminates several monsters and his experience increases countless times. In the news, it is reported that destroyers of realms have recently appeared, secretly and maliciously clearing several private realms, causing the public security department to take the case seriously and send high-ranking officials to investigate. The person reading the newspaper asks if that was Yun's doing, and it is the old man who says that with so many realms suddenly being cleared, they will certainly connect the incident to the realm they had entered earlier, leading the Ding family straight to them, and that Yun did everything alone because otherwise they would never have escaped. The Chow family comments that the place is days away from the Ding family and so well hidden that they had great difficulty concealing themselves without leaving traces, and that perhaps they can finally escape the pursuit. Then an explosion happens and a voice asks who is trying to escape. It is the second chief, Ding Hao, asking if they think they can run under the protection of that criminal, saying that even if they had no direct relation to him, simply trying to flee from the Ding family would already be reason enough for punishment. And he also says they underestimate the hero family, especially as descendants of traitors, and informs them that the criminal's whereabouts have already been tracked. Somewhere else inside the hero's secret realm, the protagonist stands on top of a hill saying he came for Ding-kun, thinking that the private secret realms he cleared earlier were only level 30 and very inefficient for gaining experience. But higher-level secret realms are like the hero's secret realm, controlled by the state and protected by the military, with no one allowed to approach within 2 kilometers, and whenever he accesses the mirror world, he can only explore 200 meters, making it impossible to enter those realms without being noticed. He realizes he will have to rely on her. The blonde asks if the reason he called her is so he can use more of her inside and says absolutely not, commenting that she doesn't know how much he knows about her identity, but even she cannot enter without a pass. Yun hands her the pass and she takes it, saying he came prepared, noting that it is a temporary pass but that even so, he needs someone to accompany him. otherwise he will not pass inspection. And she says he avoided her family and wants to enter that realm without being noticed. She asks the reason. Chi answers that she saw John's condition in that traitor's secret realm and that there might be something suspicious about that rebellion in the past, saying he wants to help his friend and the Chow family erase the humiliation and confront the heroes for the truth. The blonde asks if he thinks she is naive, saying they are not relatives and asking why she would risk offending heroes just for Chow, reminding him that he even infiltrated her family mansion before. She says he apparently predicted what would happen to John and asks if that is why he stole the pass in advance, and states that not long ago Ding-san entered that traitor's secret realm just to cause trouble, but disappeared and no one has found him since. She says it is obvious he does not just want to confront heroes, looking more like he harbors hostility toward them, and asks if his name could be connected to the traitor Yun from that time. The protagonist replies asking that since she also has that surname, does that mean she is connected to the traitor? The blonde says she didn't do any of those things and that her surname isn't even real because she changed her name to avoid trouble. Yun then asks how she knew his real surname was that one, and the blonde responds by asking how he is not afraid that she might report him, saying that if she does, he will be nearly finished. Chi looks at her for a moment and says he believes she will not do that. The protagonist says he believes her, remembering that she risked her own life in the secret realm to protect students and would not side with the Ding family. He hands her a diary stolen by the Ding family and tells her to read it, showing that the descendants of the hero Ding committed countless crimes, using their heroic status to intimidate men and women, and committing all sorts of vile acts. The blonde asks if all of this is just because of that and says he miscalculated, stating that she doesn't care about that content, but she thought he was someone calm, and yet he easily places his life in the hands of others, calling him naive and asking if he has never experienced betrayal. Yun smiles. The blonde tries to keep talking, but Che interrupts her and asks what the problem is if he has never experienced that, saying it doesn't mean he cannot trust others, and that he prefers to believe that people's true nature is not evil. The blonde thinks he truly doesn't look like someone with good intentions, and says that if he really trusts her that much, then he must accompany her so he can see whether she will betray him and sell him along the way. She walks with her head down, thinking she never imagined that even now someone would still trust her as if she were a good person. Elsewhere, a guard approaches, saying the orders were given days ago and that the young lady may enter directly, asking why she did not come with Elder Ding Dan and mentioning that he entered the secret realm just moments earlier. He also asks if the hooded man is her guard and says not to misunderstand, but when Elder Ding entered, he reported that the family's temporary pass had been stolen, so they need to be cautious. The blonde asks what he calls that and if it is supposed to be an interrogation, and the knight quickly denies it, saying they just received information from the security department stating that the criminal who had been invading secret realms maliciously also reached the hero's secret realm and that they do this only for safety, following procedure. The blonde says that they insist on investigating him and says it is better to let them inspect. She pulls Yun forward and asks if he thinks she wouldn't recognize her own guard, but a voice says that perhaps the guard was replaced and that they should inspect him. The knight says they would never dare do that since Miss Shaw is so certain there is no mistake and lets them through. The protagonist walks in with his hood up, thinking that her status seems even higher than he imagined. The blonde says that because he trusted her, she brought him that time and will not care about what he intends to do. But she will not go beyond that, explaining that she will not help him any further. Yun thanks her and asks her to take that skeleton with her when leaving, saying that no matter what she does afterward, they will not suspect her. The blonde replies that at least he has some sense. Chi enters the mirror world, saying that now he can finally use the skill unlocked when the world reaches level 3. However, the protagonist is observing the system information, and the system also shows that he used level 3 Mirror World Secret Realm Anchor deployed. Yun thinks that level 3 Mirror World can copy monsters from the real world into the secret realm. From now on, monsters can be freely created inside the mirror world without worrying about being discovered. More importantly, even after leaving the mirror world, the undead can still remain there and level up for him. During this time, he can investigate carefully. According to the Ding family diary, Kun is there, yet very little is known about him. He reached rank S decades ago and has not publicly shown his strength since then. Not even Ding Lao-san knows. If there were more detailed information, he would be more confident dealing with him. In his previous life, he knew everyone who reached rank S, but Kun suddenly appeared out of nowhere. He asks Benben if he knows who Kun is, but the ghost remains silent, and Che thinks it still does not work. Clearly, after the mirror world leveled up, the intelligence of the undead increased significantly. More notifications arrive saying that the SSS level skill mirror world has leveled up. The protagonist also thinks that at level 3 among all of them, Benben's improvement was the most obvious, but still not enough for communication. Perhaps if the mirror world continues to level up, Benben will regain more consciousness. Elsewhere, a voice says that his father has always favored the third son more and that this cannot simply be ignored. Kun says that the third son is still missing. According to the security department report, that criminal dared to approach the hero's secret realm, and to kidnap the third son so silently means he must also have reached rank S. To be safe, action must be taken. Shen thrusts his hand through his body and says that a grown man cannot even keep an eye on a child, asking if he still wants to teach others. Kun spits plasma, and the Empire's hero says that at his age, only barely reaching rank S to meet the transfer requirement, yet unable to withstand even a single blow from him. The only reason he kept this useless thing was to have him take care of his grandson. But not only did he lose him, now he has to clean up his mess. If he realizes that losing the third son means losing a blood relative, he will lose several years of his life. Elsewhere, the hero's descendant is holding a chain with a human bound to it while nearby beasts are attacking humans, even a child crying on the ground. The mage says that his beloved pet has not eaten meat for days. In another place, the protagonist observes his surroundings and thinks that compared to here, the Ding family outside the secret realm is quite conservative. He wonders whether he should reveal himself until Yun notices something and Benben enters an attacking stance. Che realizes that even in this condition, he still rushes to help others, saying that among the children from the disaster zone, he and Lan were the kindest and strongest, which is why he accepted them as disciples, trained them, and hoped they would grow strong and help others. But in the end, it was his fault that things turned out this way. Benben says Lan and asks about Shadow. The protagonist looks shocked and asks if he has regained consciousness. Benben also says the name Ding Kun. Lan Qian is Ding Kun. Yun's eyes widen. Elsewhere, Kun collapses onto the ground. The Empire's hero wipes plasma from his arm and asks about Che, wondering if he is using such a similar name to provoke him, saying he never expected to hear that name again after so many years and that he will go see who dares act on his behalf. In another place, the descendant strokes the chins of the orcs and says they are good, mentioning that he has been busy taking care of other pets recently and that they must be very hungry. He gestures forward at the captives, the child crying desperately, and says he is bored of these toys and they can all be eaten. Without hesitation, the orcs charge, one heading straight for the child, but it is cut into several pieces by the protagonist, who is filled with killing intent while thinking about how Lan Qian could be Ding Kun. The mage asks if he is an intruder and whether he has the courage to invade a hero's territory. Yun wonders how this could be and whether it was Ding Kun who taught such scum, remembering how he once told the children that because of the extraordinary power of professionals, this was no longer the age of knights. Yet, as a descendant of knights, he still wanted to pass something on. Under his guidance, their strength would far exceed that of ordinary professionals. If they wished to continue learning from him, they had to remember this. First, be humble. There is no essential difference between people. Remain polite and respectful to everyone. The children argue. The protagonist approaches with a book and says it is extra payment, telling them that if they remember this feeling, they will not become so arrogant. In the present, the orcs continue to be cut down. The mage counterattacks and questions this power, saying it is impossible because this is level 30 legendary equipment. The system notifies that the accessory, protective barrier necklace, has been destroyed. The descendant curses him as hellish scum and says he will show him the power of a higher level. Yun recalls telling the survivors that, second, one must have mercy, always use compassion to fight violence and transgressions. He rescued him from that slave auction organization back then, and once someone is injured, they should understand the helplessness of the weak and allow proper judgment. In the present, Che tries to cut both of them at once, but they teleport away, saying that destroying illusions must have made him happy, and if he enjoyed it, there are many more for him to cut. Beside them, numerous clones appear. The protagonist stares at them, and the descendant says he always has that explosive, angry face, and asks if it is for these bastards. Finding it interesting, wondering what kind of cave he will crawl into, when he realizes that after cutting everyone down, it was actually they who cut him. Yun charges forward and attacks. The descendant cannot believe it and asks how he saw through it. Chi remembers telling them third, be brave, because in battles against secret realms there will be cowards, and one must fight for justice. The children approach, saying they almost lost their lives out there, and the protagonist smiles and tells them not to worry, that he was watching the whole time. In the present, after the two are attacked and injured, the descendant says this guy is strong and that he can stop using illusions and face him head-on, preventing him from escaping, because if anything happens to him, his grandfather will kill him. The mage stands up using human spells, paralyzing powder and swamp summoning, saying he will not use illusion magic and that fighting as a combination is very difficult for him until he suddenly cannot see him anymore. And Yun appears behind him, about to strike. The mage, collapsed on the ground, begs for his life, saying that if he has any grudge against the Dings, he should go after Yun. Chi thinks of the chamber and the spirit of sacrifice. Ben approaches, dragging the descendant, who asks what he is, and Ben replies that he is the grandson of a hero. The descendant threatens that if he touches him, he will ensure his entire family dies miserably. The mage is turned into a ghost. The descendant is horrified and asks what he did to him, and the protagonist thinks that 5th, one must be honest, 6th, be just, 7th, honor, and 8th, soul. Numerous swords are launched and finish off the descendant. After that, Yun walks forward and encounters many people hanging from ropes and feathers, realizing that Lan Qian not only ignored everything he taught, but also turned the blade against himself and Ben, deceiving the descendants into committing countless evils, and asks why. Shen approaches from behind and asks why what, saying he seemed to be enjoying himself quite a bit in his secret realm. The Empire's hero attacks, causing a massive impact. As the smoke dissipates, Che is badly injured but repeatedly uses basic healing and asks Lan Qian why. The Empire's hero walks forward, notices something, asks if it is a mirror, and then the protagonist charges and strikes him head-on, demanding to know why he betrayed him. The opponent's armor shatters and Lan Qian comments that he actually managed to break the defense, saying that his speed and power were anything but normal. The protagonist faces the adversary, says his name, and wants to understand why he betrayed himself, but Lan only repeats the word betrayal and says that now he calls him Yun instead of the old name, questioning if that old man sent him. Lan charges forward with a blow that causes a thunderous crash and mocks, asking if he is trying to pretend to be the master himself, calling it a sick fetish. Che appears from behind, demanding an explanation for the betrayal, but Lan blocks the attack and says he was never more than a tool, ending any attempt at conversation. The attacks continue. The protagonist summons the spirit and directs the question toward him, but Qian reacts first, strikes the spirit and wants to know how it still exists and how that is possible. He then watches from the side and comments on a necromancer, saying that although it looks like resurrection, not much intellect remains. The 3 members of the Ding family take fighting stances. Shun asks why his father left, and Jian replies that such insignificant thieves can be left for them to handle. Yun thinks for them to get out of the way, summons more spirits, and tells them to hold them back. Lan is surprised and asks if what's ahead is Sanwazi, if that is his form, and if he was truly finalized. He starts to cry while smiling at the same time, saying that his blood relative began to take an interest in him, even though he was a finalized spirit reborn as another being. Lan advances and says that to quickly prove he is his master, that he must be his dear master, telling him to ask anything he wants because he will tell everything and cannot hide anything from himself. The protagonist says that back then, even locked in a cage, he could still help others, and asks how things ended up like this. Yun attacks, and Lan launches his attack as well, asking if it isn't all his fault. Yun, his face covered in blood, asks who helped him escape slavery, who turned him into a powerful professional, and who taught him. Qian asks why he came to save them so late, why only after he himself had suffered so much, why, as his disciple, only the son of a knight could live so comfortably. He says everyone is polite to him and asks why that guy Ben, who went through nothing, could enjoy such treatment. He questions why Ben is better than him at everything, why he preferred Ben just because he was born cleaner, why he turned himself into a berserker because he was timid and therefore had to be one, and whether he shouldn't have become a sword guard with better defense. Che asks if, when he already preferred someone, he always acted as if he wanted to be braver and stronger. Lan shouts that it's only because he likes that kind of person more and that he himself clearly tried hard to act bravely too. Lan asks if he started to show favoritism, saying that deep down he always despised his birth. He talks about pity and humility, saying to hell with chivalrous virtues, questioning whether they can help anyone live better. He says his treatment is because of power and status, and that he himself is not like that idiot Ben, fooled by him, wasting time evolving and chances to save people. He asks if this is called betrayal, saying he can choose Ben while he himself can choose others. He says his good brother Luo can give him greater status and power, and that he can go see how Ben's descendants are now. He asks about his own, saying they can only be slaves of the Ding family. He tells him to look at him now, at Luo's current position, and then say who the right choice was. Yun watches, tremendous mana surging around him, and calls him an ungrateful bastard. The barrier shatters into pieces. Che launches powerful attacks. Lan tries to block but is hit, his armor cracking more and more. Che says he truly can't compare to Mangwu, not even worth one of his toes. Lan says no, and the system notifies that he has no armor equipped. Condition satisfied. Qian activates the Berserker body and more notifications arrive. Attack power increased by 300%, speed increased by 200%, and the lower the HP, the more attack and speed increase exponentially. Lan advances, asking if he admits he favors Benben, saying he is truly hypocritical. The protagonist thinks about that speed and realizes he can only enter the mirror world to hide. A tremendous attack is launched. Lan says he uses these mirrors to travel and evade, and that without mirrors he can't hide, telling him to face him head-on. He asks if knights shouldn't be courageous and tells him to come practice the chivalrous virtues he taught him. Qian laughs, saying he was right. He only talks about virtue when he's safe. A noble child who hasn't suffered understands absolutely nothing. And he asks if he didn't feel his pain yet, still talks about compassion. Lan attacks, but Yun barely dodges. Qian continues, saying it's just a game of make-believe, asking if he really thinks friends and disciples will always support him. Che is extremely injured by the overwhelming attack. As the smoke clears, Che is lying on the ground. Lan laughs, telling him to look at his state. Without mirrors, he is weak and simply won't attack, barely surviving the continuous damage of the plasma storm. The protagonist advances. Lan says he wasn't so delicate before, that this is the price of naivety, and that he should be grateful to him. Yun tries to attack with his dagger. Qian catches it with his bare hands and says that only through betrayal can one grow. He says that although falling from the peak to the mortal world must be horrible, Luo became the supreme king, revered by the masses, while he himself became a despised traitor, asking if he isn't jealous. Lan steps back and laughs loudly, saying his HP is about to run out and that the only way to live here is held in his hand. He says that if he admits he's wrong and kneels to beg for mercy, he can still be a pet there, of course on the condition of handing over the secret of resurrection. Qi says he was wrong, that rescuing him from the slave cage back then was a mistake. Trusting them was a mistake. Thinking that leading by example could win people over was a mistake, and thinking good people wouldn't turn bad was a mistake. Qi also says it's wrong to rigidly follow chivalrous virtues. To deal with scum like him, virtue isn't necessary. The protagonist's HP keeps increasing, and he says he just needs to wipe them out by any means necessary. Yun advances with immense mana, attacking in many ways. Lan says this is how it should be. Qian advances, saying he thought he learned dual-wield specialization, but it turns out he's just holding two swords and attacking recklessly. Using unfamiliar combat methods in real battle is equivalent to courting death, until Lan notices something. Che strikes him in the back. Qian wonders how that's possible since all the mirrors were destroyed. Lan realizes it's plasma, not mirrors. As long as it's reflective, it works. Lan says he truly found a loophole, but once this move is used, there will be no room to fight, and now there's nothing reflective left. Qian spits blood after being attacked again, this time by Benben. Che gathers his undead and says he doesn't need to talk to him about knightly spirits. The protagonist stares at him from afar, saying he only wants to see him finalized. The undead charge toward the opponent. Lan says he can't even keep up with his current strength, and that the more seriously he's injured, the stronger he becomes. Yun says he can see through all his flaws. Lan says a berserker has two weaknesses. First, low defense, because the class requires high attack and speed, so attributes can't be heavily allocated to defense. Moreover, many skills reduce one's own defense, and even skeletal spirits can hurt him. Lan says low-level undead just need to be wiped out. Qi explains the second weakness. He doesn't have many area attacks. Aside from the wind slash he had before changing class, he only has linear attacks. His mana recovery speed is enough to maintain a stable number of undead, so he'll never eliminate them all. Lan activates his plasma fury and asks who said he has no wide area attacks. The protagonist smiles and says his biggest flaw is having no one he can trust. Yun blocks the attack, saying that back then he and Benben covered each other's weaknesses, but now the shield that once protected him has become the blade that strikes him. As someone who rose to power through betrayal, he doubts anyone would stand by his side, asking if this is really what he wanted. Lan attacks, asking if he's still talking about friendship and reliance at this point. He says that while he himself enjoyed power for 60 years, he doesn't need comrades or anything like that, asking where his children and grandchildren are. The three charge forward, and Lan says he doesn't need comrades. His children and grandchildren will fight for him. Qi approaches from behind and cuts off his arm. Qian screams in pain, and his children ask if their father has really lost. Lan tells them to hold on and heal quickly. They watch and say that if even he couldn't defeat him, what could they do? Lan is surprised by this answer and says he himself will do it. Qian rushes toward one of his sons and strangles him. Shun asks what he's doing. Lan says everything he has is because of him, because he brought him into the world for his health and long life, asking how he dares challenge him. He tells the other two to stop immediately or he'll drain them as well. They stop. They notice the mirrors. Undead begin to approach, and massive explosions erupt. Lan screams loudly as he's struck by extremely powerful attacks. Everything around is destroyed, yet Lan is still standing, visibly relieved, asking where he went. The protagonist is right there and says his inside doesn't match his appearance, that he's still an old man, and tells him to enjoy the family reunion. Lan cries, saying he even turned his children into undead. Qian tries to flee. Yun approaches and asks if he thinks he can escape now. The pressure intensifies. Lan's arm is torn off again and he's cut repeatedly. Che says he could have had all of this, but now all he has is their hatred, and that he should face the end he chose. Lan is finalized. More than 60 years ago, a voice says that everyone successfully changed classes and reached rank S. As a master, he must show something in return and will send all the high-quality materials he saved over the years to the divine craftsman. With great luck, a mythical grade weapon is forged, the highest grade he can wield at his current level. This great sword matches his usual style and can be handled easily. The boy is excited and thanks the master. The master gives Yi an axe and a shield, saying they perfectly match his new class, and with his combat talent, he'll surely master them soon, showing he truly has money to spend. The partner asks what Lan is looking at. Qian asks about his own weapon and whether it's outdated. The master replies that his will never need replacing. The flowing cloud sword was the result of everything he had. Years of gathering top-tier treasures from secret realms, infiltrating that SSS level realm and forging it in the ancient furnace, making it the strongest equipment. At that time, it was only an embryonic form. As a unique, irreplicable piece of equipment, it has a special sharpening method, like flowing clouds, capable of infinite change, transforming into any weapon form desired. Perfect synchronization with the user is the condition for its complete formation. After countless bloody battles, it now moves like his heart, automatically adapting to changes in power. Lan says, "It's incredible." The master asks if he wants to try it. Lan excitedly asks if he can. Years later, Lan wields his master's weapon against him, saying he finally has a unique grade weapon. Back in the present, the protagonist looks at the sword and says that when he faced the front lines of the secret realm, even through difficult paths, he never retreated, all to live a peaceful life with them. He says that because of greed, Lan destroyed himself, and that the so-called title of hero means nothing to him. Lan, fallen on the ground at death's door, hopes not to be finalized. Yun says that in his hands, the flowing cloud sword is nothing more than a greatsword, that he betrayed him just for this, betrayed Benben, and now must face what he chose. Lan is beheaded. Che says that everything he knows, he himself will also know. Afterward, the protagonist sits on the throne as the spirit approaches and kneels before him. Yun thinks that the road of vengeance has just begun, and that's why he became stronger. Due to the restrictions of secret realms, ordinary people today can only reach level 30 in their lifetime. Even exceptionally talented individuals who join official organizations and keep ranking up can, at most, reach level 60, because this level is a massive threshold class transfer. When certain conditions are met, a class can further evolve, unlocking exclusive high-level equipment, attributes, and skills. Only those who complete a class transfer can surpass level 60, and this requires a class transfer certificate. This certificate is extremely rare. Even in the previous life, when secret realms were open to all, only 1 in 10,000 succeeded. In this life, however, the item is strictly controlled by the government, and in the entire hero family, only Lan possesses one. None of his descendants ever transferred classes, because the difference before and after transfer is like heaven and earth. Lan changed from warrior to berserker, learning exclusive skills like berserker body, multiplying his powers several times. If not for the mirror world, he would never have defeated Lan Qian. And if, in addition to possessing the mirror world, he also completed a class transfer, the protagonist wonders how powerful he could become. The system notifies that it is scanning mental power and that prerequisites and conditions have been met. Transferable classes appear: Battle Dancer, Bard, Forest Musician. More notifications appear to choose a class. The decision had long been made. Among the rare singing classes, it's the only one with offensive abilities. Yun clicks Battle Dancer, and the system asks whether the mirror world should invert the Battle Dancer class. Qi wonders about this class inversion. From the 8 basic professions, they can branch into many others. Different class changes have their own specialized directions, but there are always exceptions because many hidden professions exist. The higher the requirements for a class change, the greater the gains after the change. Take the War Dancer as an example. Paradoxically, changing into this class requires speed of at least 55 and an equally high spirit attribute. In general, professions that involve singing cannot have such an extreme attribute distribution. The requirements for this class change include the Slaughter Plasma Core. Moreover, the class change quest also demands a super rare item, the Annihilation Plasma Core. This is crystallized plasma that requires an immense massacre to be filled with energy, and for singing classes without offensive abilities, using it is extremely difficult. Therefore, only a very small number of people manage to change class successfully, and now the War Dancer profession has been reverted and strengthened in the mirror world, with the class change quest requirements also inverted and multiplied. The system issues a notification about the Peace Dancer. True peace requires absolute power to protect it. In the profession's history, peace dancers are not mere healers, but enemies who use elegant dance movements and sacred staffs with bells. They believe that only by instilling fear in the enemy can war be ended, and thus their dances can be songs of healing or laments of destruction. The requirement for this class change is the Life Nursery. The protagonist says these requirements are a bit exaggerated and asks what the principle behind the mirror inversion is, since inverted requirements should at the very least be on par with the Annihilation Plasma Core. More notifications arrive stating that it is a treasure capable of continuously producing potions that completely restore health. Yun thinks that each unit of the Life Nursery is fiercely contested by high-level professionals and that, with it, a professional team might not even need a healer. Chi stands up and continues thinking that with such high demands, this profession must be extremely strong after the change. In the mirror world, he had imagined that mirror skill enhancements would be a slow process of refinement and unlocking, and this mirror world is 88. The Orc Chieftain, a copy, approaches, and the protagonist thinks that after level 3, the mirror world contains not only ordinary monsters but also secret realm lords. Souls also seem more numerous than they initially appeared. The level has been increased by 2, and moreover, even class changes can be reverted, allowing the functions of each level to be explored in greater detail. Yun leaves the mirror world and says it is time to go. A very strong light is emitted, and the system notifies that the level has been increased by 2, that a legendary piece of equipment has been obtained. The Necklace of the Great Fang, that the Secret Realm Lord has been defeated, that the Secret Realm strategy has been completed, and it also displays the character's information. The Secret Realm dissipates. People watch and wonder whether everything disappeared all of a sudden, questioning what is going on and what the heroes are doing. Someone asks whether the hero family is facing some kind of crisis, until a voice orders everyone to obey and go inside. Then people notice something and ask whether Ding Jian has been eliminated. In the castle, a young man watches television, which reports that the hero's family has suffered a massacre. No suspects have been found so far, and anyone with clues should come forward. People from other houses also watch and become indignant, asking whether a hero has truly been eliminated. The captain says this is the only photo they have managed to obtain so far, and that they have received orders to do everything possible to capture the criminal and give it their all. The Supreme King sits on his throne and says that little Langan has been eliminated, asking whether anything has been found. The former hero of the secret realm replies that none of the officers guarding Ding Kun know what happened. He asked his subordinates to check the entry and exit records and also obtained information from the security department. The main suspects at first glance are analyzed, and the Supreme King waits. The former hero of the secret realm then says that it is Yun Che, a truly nostalgic name, and that he can leave it to himself. Elsewhere, a voice asks whether they have heard about the incident in the realm of heroes. People chat and ask how anyone could not know, since it has been the most talked about topic for the past 2 days, wondering who had the audacity to attack a hero. They also comment that if a hero was truly eliminated by someone, it is a genuine national disgrace. Yuncha passes by, hears the conversation, and thinks that the person who eliminated Ding Kun did so personally. She herself was an accomplice by helping him enter the hero's secret realm and wonders whether she should resign, but then thinks that after doing something like this, she will probably never see them again in this lifetime. Then she notices Yun walking over and becomes a little nervous. Chi is exuding a terrifying aura. Elsewhere, the spirit is kneeling on the ground and mentions the Life Nursery, saying it has never heard of it. The protagonist says that the Life Nursery program required for the class change is extremely rare, likely known only to the highest-ranking officials. And now, speaking of individuals of the highest rank, he remarks that Yuncha seems exceptionally noble, and asks whether the spirit knows who she is, saying she seemed familiar to him from before. The spirit tries to remember and says that she is Luo Sha, the granddaughter of Luo Wei. In the present, the protagonist thinks that he truly did not expect this, that she is Luo Wei's granddaughter. Yuncha keeps looking at him nervously while Yun stares back at her, until several people approach him, very excited that he has come to the academy. They ask whether he expended a lot of energy defeating the Wandering Lord and whether that is why he rested over the past few days, saying that thanks to him they managed to survive under the Wandering Lord's rule because he was far too strong. They had already lost hope back then, and now they were finally waiting for him at the academy, needing to thank him properly, and moreover, it seems the academy also wants to reward him. However, since he is at the academy, the Ding family may come looking for him. For some reason, the third head of the Ding family seems to have disappeared in that heroic secret realm, and the family had already searched everywhere for him before. He is so strong that he might be questioned extensively, but he probably does not need to worry too much. After all, the culprit is clearly the secret realm saboteur who had already appeared in the newspapers before, and even a hero sacrificed himself. Even so, as incredible as it sounds, they would never imagine that someone could eliminate a hero. The protagonist thinks that the Ding family only knows, by his voice, that he broke into their home to steal a pass without sufficient evidence. Therefore, only the Ding family should suspect him. A boy says he heard that the secret realm saboteur is being pursued by security agents and predicts that he will be apprehended soon, telling him not to worry because his innocence will certainly be proven. Yun thinks that he does not want to be caught by the security forces. The so-called security forces are actually very powerful. The patrol teams on every street are exceptionally strong. Moreover, everyone has a device called a cell phone to report things. If it were not for the undead complicating the situation, he might not have managed to return. And this place is full of students, so he would not easily reveal himself by passing as Yun Che. Most importantly, he can learn about this era at the academy without arousing suspicion. The bald man says that in the end, the fault lies entirely with the secret realm saboteur. If it were not for him, they would not be suspects. And the Ding family is also a victim. A hero was truly eliminated. That person is truly beyond redemption. And no matter how terrible things were, they should not have attacked that hero. Che thinks that they grew up learning about Hero Kun as promoted by Luo Wei, and that even if he had been eliminated, it would be difficult to change people's perceptions. A young man asks whether they have heard that this particular hero is not as written in the books. People say that is unbelievable until a girl approaches and says she heard it too, asking whether they do not believe her and stating that she has the video. Someone secretly filmed the scene when the hero's secret realm dissipated. Everyone inside was in that state, exhausted and badly injured. It appears that all of them had been enslaved and abused by the Ding family for a long time. People watch and say that it is very tragic. The protagonist looks closely and wonders whether things will change after all. People begin to question whether it is real or not, where it was obtained, and if there were troops guarding the place, how it leaked. Others say it is fake, that it is a smear campaign by someone with ulterior motives, deliberately slandering the hero. Yunsha says that it is true that she was invited recently and that what they see in the video is only a small part of it. This is no secret to the big shots. People say that even she has confirmed it and ask whether it is true, whether something like this really happened. Yunsha pulls Yun, and everyone stares in surprise. She takes him to a place where the two are alone and asks why he came back, whether he is not afraid of being investigated by the security agents, whether he thinks only the guards will cause him trouble, and says that he eliminated a hero, asking if he's not afraid that she might report him. Chi replies that he already said this before and believes her nature is not bad. Yunsha says that considering the evils of the heroic family, it is better that they were eliminated, and that this means he now owes her another favor. The protagonist tells her not to worry and says he has noted everything she said. Yun thinks that she is Luo Sha, the granddaughter of Luo Wei, and wonders why she helped him enter the hero's secret realm. If she disapproves of the Ding family's actions, then what exactly is her relationship with Luo Wei? And to eliminate him, deceiving and using Luo Sha could be a good strategy. He decides to focus on the first immediate objective and asks whether she knows about life nurseries. Yunsha answers that this is what produces life essence. Che says that the director, that old man, has one. The protagonist enters the mirror world and says that the old man collected a sapling of the world tree which he values greatly, and that among all the life nursery networks he knows, he did everything possible to acquire resources and come to water the precious sapling since there are many life nurseries. A light is emitted. Yun retreats in alarm and says that all the items are sealed by the director's magic matrix. Originally, he planned to directly obtain the copy of the life nest through the mirror world, but he did not expect the magic matrix to be activated within the mirror world itself, although he was already familiar with sealing magic matrices from his previous life. This set shows many differences from the past. There are many novelties of this era, and he wonders whether these can be called machines. Chi also says that with his current strength he cannot break this magic formation, because even if his attack power were sufficient to destroy the Matrix's force, it would also damage the items inside. It seems that all he can do for now is leave. The system notifies the items he must take. The protagonist thinks that this person's strength is far greater than Lan Gan's, and that if he does not change professions, he will probably not be able to defeat him. Therefore, there are only two ways to obtain the life nursery now. The first is to wait until the person himself opens the magic matrix and obtain it through the mirror world. The second is to learn about the things of this era, become familiar with the unknown parts of that magic setup, and find a way to break it. In the school library, Yun walks around, picks up a book called Machines in Everyday Life, and thinks he will start by reading books on common sense, since building a solid foundation is more important than anything else. Then he thinks about eliminating Ding-kun first, because he was too impatient when he was revived last time. The changes of this era are so significant that if he does not understand them well, he might not even be able to meet Luo Wei. Previously, he dismantled some of the copied machines, but could not understand the method at all. Everyone says this was promoted by Luo Wei, and he wonders where he got these things and ideas from. The protagonist continues reading and understands that this is how magic cores are used, wondering what principle lies behind it. He realizes that the parts that do not involve secret realm items are understandable, but the interaction with those items raises many questions. Although some questions were answered, others arose as a consequence. Moreover, much of the knowledge is formulated vaguely and requires consulting other books, and the most crucial information may not even be recorded. The more popular the books, the more censored they are. Perhaps only in niche or rare books, even unique copies, can the content he seeks be found. However, such books contain a lot of useless information, and the time spent filtering it all could be considerable. Until Yun notices something. It is a girl sitting and reading a book. He wonders if it is Yun Yin and whether she was not always with Yunsha, and why she is there. What the bodyguard of Luo Wei's granddaughter is investigating. The name of the book she's reading is Classic Fairy Tales of the World. Then Yun Yin notices something and looks in his direction. Che says he's just going to borrow a book from there, and Yun Yin asks which one. The protagonist replies that he is not sure, that the most suitable content would be about secret realm products and the principles of mechanical structures. Yun Yin tosses the book to him without looking in his direction. Yun catches the book and thanks her. Later, still in the same place, Che says he has finished reading and asks whether there is any book on mobile communication there. Yun Yin watches him and hands over another book. Che is holding some food in his hand, says he found it very tasty and asks whether she would like some. Yun Yin replies that she does not and thanks him. The protagonist walks away thinking that although this person is cold, for some reason he feels a strange sense of closeness, which he finds curious. He continues thinking that it seems she finally managed to come to the library for a moment of quiet reading while Yunsha rests. Perhaps once he gets to know her better, he can ask her about Luo Wei and Luo Sha. Days pass and the two continue going to the library at the same time, and Yun Yin keeps handing him books. Yun asks what a certain phrase means, and Yun Yin answers that she does not know. Eventually, she starts eating the piece of bread he brings and always shares. Che asks whether she knows about the array connection system, and Yun Yin replies that it literally refers to a mechanical system used to connect sets of devices. The protagonist asks if she can help him find books on the subject. The two read side by side. Yun Yin watches him and asks why he does not ask that person, leaving Yun confused. Yun Yin says it is his little follower and asks where the descendant of that traitor is. In the Ding family's inner residence, the main master and the second master are together looking at a photo. They say they are being threatened with Shu and ask what they want, commenting that they have only received a photo and no response for so many days. The main master asks whether Yun Che sent this. The second master says he had worked with Chao Ji from the Chao family before, and asks whether this has anything to do with the Chao family member they captured. He wonders whether it was Yun Che, recalling that he also eliminated the hero's grandfather, and says that if he has the strength to eliminate his own grandfather, then why the security forces have not arrested him yet, if they do not care about what is said. They declare that they are a family of heroes, and that even if the grandfather has been eliminated, that will not change. Then a soldier opens the door and says that Chao Ji of the Chao family has returned to the academy. Elsewhere, someone is standing while everyone looks at him and asks whether this is Chao Ji, that member of the Chao family, and what he is planning. They say that seeing a hero eliminated, he is coming to stir up trouble and assert that although there are some negative rumors about the hero, he is a traitor. Chao says that when the hero's secret realm dissipated earlier, he is certain that someone else also saw that battlefield, and that even if no one saw it, he himself recorded a video. The protagonist watches from above and thinks that for so many years the truth was hidden, and the hero was wronged and trampled on by a traitor. But there are always those who persistently seek the truth, and now there is sufficient evidence to prove it. His great-grandfather was not a traitor, he was a hero. Yun thinks that perhaps the world will change because of this persistence. Z says that everything he stated is true, and that he is not afraid of verification, if there is any part to be questioned. His great-grandfather definitely was not a traitor. People stand frozen, wondering whether he is really not lying and how something like this could have happened. Chow says he does not expect everyone to believe him immediately, but that his granduncle, grandaunt, youngest uncle, and all his family members have always been innocent. He only hopes that the Ding family can spare his family. People comment that it is said the Ding family was magnanimous back then, and therefore spared the lives of the rebellious Chow family within the household. If the rumors about the hero family's cruelty are true, then the Chow family probably did not have an easy life throughout all these years. Indeed, in this era, it is still common to have household servants and the like. Z thinks that the Ding family is currently at the center of a storm of public opinion, and that now is the best time to free the Chow family from the Ding family's control. Although Shu is under control and the safety of his uncle and everyone else should be guaranteed, it's better to rescue them as soon as possible. It would not be good for Yun Che to help them directly. The head of security approaches and says that he must be Yun, introducing himself as someone from the security department. They now suspect that he is involved in the hero's secret realm incident and lead him away for an investigation, demanding his cooperation. The head of security says that he is male, 17 years old, from East Wangcheng City. His parents lost their lives when he was 11, victims of a disaster in a new secret realm. Since then, he has lived alone, relying on an inheritance, with a solitary personality, always ranked among the last in the Academy's combat performance rankings. This is the old record, and he seems to have been different lately. In that heroic secret realm, he fought alone against countless wandering species and eliminated the Wandering Lord. After that, he and the third head of the Ding family disappeared simultaneously for a period of time. He only reappeared after something happened in the hero's secret realm. The chief asks how his strength suddenly increased to that extent, where he was during that period, and what he was doing. The protagonist replies that the reason he did not return to the Academy earlier was because the hidden boss in the heroic secret realm was far too terrifying. So he went out for a walk to clear his head. He says that he has strength slightly above that of his peers and used to hide it, but suspecting that he eliminated a hero is an exaggeration. At his age, he has not even changed professions, so how could he possibly eliminate a hero who is, at the very least, a transcendent? And why would he do something like that when he has no motive at all? The head of security says that an ordinary student indeed would not have the motivation or strength to do such things, but he has heard that there are transcendent individuals in the world who possess abilities to disguise themselves as other people and asks who he really is. The head of security uses his Dissipate ability, a skill-type ability of epic quality, to dispel ability-based disguises applied to a unit. The system notifies that the use failed and that it must be used on a target that possesses a disguise ability. The chief wonders whether the other party's skill level is higher than his, or whether there is no disguise at all, and comments that at his age he should already be learning the principles of communication machines. The protagonist asks whether that is not what graduates learn, and says that he has not even mastered the occupational system or the connection of common machines yet. The head of security remains silent for a moment and says that this is all for today, but that they will return soon. Yun thinks that fortunately he has been reading many general knowledge books recently, especially textbooks, which can be considered a way to get rid of them for the time being, but this is only an appetizer. Yun recalls that the spirit said that he himself was Luo Wei back then, placed at the forefront as bait to lure people related to the master. If he lost his life, Luo Wei would certainly send shadow guards to investigate, whose strength far surpasses his. In the present time, Che thinks that the people sent by Luo Wei do not follow rules like those of the security agents. If he does not change professions, the risk is very great, but that director only stays at the academy for 1 hour a day, and he has never seen him enter the vault. Not to mention the situation of activating the magic matrix, relying solely on the mirror world to obtain the life nursery, will probably not work in a short time. The head of security says that the results of the investigation are as follows. The main suspects now are Yun Che and Princess Luo Sha. A hooded young man says that Princess Luo Sha is certainly not a possibility, but that this Yun Yin, who has always been by her side, is another matter, since she is a descendant of the rebel family. And this Yun Che, also surnamed Yun, is indeed very suspicious. He tells them to keep an eye on this Yun Che and that if anything unusual happens, he authorizes eliminating him directly. The protagonist realizes something. He thinks about surveillance and realizes that he will need to maintain his disguise from now on. Yun enters a restaurant and begins to eat, thinking that this time he did not buy meat-filled bread. He chose the same dish as everyone else, yet it is still exceptionally delicious. In his past life, most of the time he ate outdoors and slept on the streets. Moreover, in disaster situations, food was scarce, only enough to feel full, and he wonders how such exquisite and tasty food can exist. Then, students nearby comment that the food is bad. A boy sits beside him and says that it is awful, asking how he can eat so happily, and whether he does not feel disgusted. Che continues eating and replies that he is hungry. They say they have not yet had the chance to thank him and invite him to go to Garibaldo's bar. Chi wonders about a bar and thinks that it is perfect, since this kind of place is very convenient for gathering all kinds of information. Moreover, someone familiar with modern arrangements might even discover other life nurseries, so he agrees. They arrive at the bar. The protagonist stands still, observing his surroundings. His companions order drinks and say that he must try the Difference Engine Dream. They claim they have only tasted it once and that the flavor is incredibly intense. Yun thinks that the changes are far greater than he imagined and that there is not the slightest possibility of finding information about the life nursery there. Che steps outside and wonders what he is doing. He thinks that secret realms are controlled, that ordinary people are at most around level 30, and questions how there could be any useful information for common people in a place like that. Then, elsewhere, the protagonist walks silently with his head lowered until he enters a place and immediately comes across a book. Yun opens it and realizes he is in a library. Che continues walking between the shelves, searching for books. While he searches, Yun Yin asks which book he's looking for. The protagonist looks at her, and Yun Yin hands him a book saying she found the volume on matrix machines that he had asked about earlier, and that it was written by the school's director himself. Yun takes the book and thanks her. Yun Yin says she simply could not sleep. Chi comments that next time he will bring sandwiches for her, and Yun Yin thanks him. The protagonist looks at the book and thinks that it explains things so clearly and simply that it is surprisingly easy to understand. Based on his current understanding, it is still too early to say he fully comprehends everything, but if the goal is merely to cause damage, that would not be difficult. Since the matter of the magic matrix is settled, he takes the opportunity to ask whether she knows if there are books about the Yun family there. Yun Yin lowers her head and replies that no, saying that even if he searched the entire library, he would find nothing. Before the family rebellion, His Majesty seemed to have a good relationship with them, and even now, after suffering such a painful betrayal, the benevolent emperor forbade the circulation of any books related to the Yun family. Che asks about this benevolent emperor, what exactly happened, whether it was possible that no one in the family was innocent, and whether truly none of them survived. Yun Yin answers yes. The protagonist recalls the spirit saying that there was not a single innocent person, that all of them lost their lives. Luo Wei personally led the Shadow Guards into action. Luo Wei and the Yun family were close. He easily gained their trust and then launched a surprise attack to eliminate the most powerful patriarch of the family. Not only the Yun family members, but also the guards, the servants, and even the servants' children. No one was spared. All were devastated and then massacred. After the master was eliminated, Luo Wei spread accusations of rebellion to remove any risk, and it was ordered that anyone with blood ties to the Yun family be eliminated. In the present, Che holds a sword in his hand. In the mirror world, inside the director's vault, he swings the sword several times in rapid succession. The system notifies that the magic matrix has been broken, and the protagonist remembers when he was young and broke a piece of wood telling Luo Wei to stop, because if he kept practicing like that, they would not have enough training dummies. Luo asked if that was not enough, and said he would ask his mother to fund the purchase of more. Yun said he had already told him not to buy more dummies, but to rest instead, because if he did not rest, he would become exhausted. Time passed and Che was 16 years old. He said that his father always claimed that every drop of sweat meant one less drop of plasma spilled on the battlefield. He was about to be admitted into the secret realm and could not afford to slack off. Wei said that the teacher claimed diligence was important. The teacher also said that excess was as harmful as deficiency. The boy commented that since His Highness had said so, he would rest after finishing that set. They fall silent for a moment until someone comes running over, calling out to Big Brother Wei and saying she brought iced water with honey and lemon and a baked apple pie, something they normally did not have the chance to eat. They take the water and begin to eat. The protagonist says it is delicious and that she is definitely the best sister in the world, and Luo agrees. The girl also hands some to her older brother. The big brother takes the water and thanks her. They all eat and drink, and the little girl says she got it secretly and that aside from that, it was an excellent product. One of them laughs and says, "It is no wonder it is exceptionally delicious." They laugh together. In the present, Yun thinks that back then he had little interest in secret realms or knights, and only wanted to live happily ever after with his family and friends. But not everyone thought the same way, and even after all these years, he cannot understand Luo Wei, wondering how he managed to destroy him so easily, and whether all of this was truly for the sake of the Empire's stability. The system notifies that the class change has been successfully completed to Peace Dancer, with healing mode activated. Che walks on until someone calls out to him. It is Yunsha, who asks whether he does not owe her favors and says she is begging him to help save Yun Yin, because the Shadow Guards are going to eliminate her. The protagonist's eyes widen as he asks why the Shadow Guards would attack her and whether she did not take part in the hero's secret realm incident. Luo Sha, crying, answers that it is because Yun Yin is a descendant of the rebellious Yun family, and that, for this reason, the Shadow Guards have made her the primary suspect in the hero's secret realm incident. They directly stormed her mansion to arrest her. Even if she herself proved that she was not present when the hero lost his life, it would be useless because he did not care in the slightest. She contacted everyone who might be able to help and tried every possible method, but everything was futile and she does not know how to save her. Che asks where they are now, and Luo Sha replies that she will open a path for him. The protagonist says she will be responsible for support, as it is more convenient for him to act alone. Yun exits the mirror world and looks at a screen and asks whether Yun Yin really is a descendant of the Yun family, and if the Yun family was not completely exterminated by Luo Wei, how she managed to survive until now. Luo Sha answers that, as far as she knows, the Yun family had an illegitimate child who lived outside the family at that time. An illegitimate child. The protagonist thinks that his father was extremely strict with himself and valued his reputation too much, making it impossible for him to have had an affair, and wonders whether she could be a descendant of the elder brother. Luo Sha says that as for that child, the king, out of benevolence or old affection, did not eliminate her. She was kept near the palace and raised there, but never left the small mansion where she was brought up throughout her entire life. She did not even know who the father of her own child was and eventually took her own life. Yun Yin is the daughter of that illegitimate child and after that continued living in that small mansion. Yun asks how she managed to leave there and why she became a guard. Luo Sha replies that she does not know if he is aware, but that she herself is actually the daughter of the kingdom's third prince. She was only 7 years old when she met Yun Yin. At that time, she was tired of the complicated etiquette lessons and secretly slipped into a remote wing of the palace, where she saw Yun Yin being bullied. The area around the palace was filled with the children of high officials, usually spoiled and arrogant, and Yun Yin, as a descendant of a traitor, could be bullied without anyone being held responsible. A boy asked whether the bastard child of a traitor even deserved to read fairy tales, saying it was a joke, and asking whether she even knew how to write the word happiness. Many people saw bullying Yun Yin as a way to gain the favor of His Majesty, and therefore went out of their way to humiliate her. The boy mocked her, saying that such books were for noble young ladies, that he was already dirty just from touching it, and that she should drop it immediately, tear it up and burn it. The boys pulled her hair and said that she was holding a tattered book as if it were a treasure. They said they had heard that her mother was insane and that it looked like she would be next, until Yun Yin suddenly widened her eyes and bit one of their hands. The boy immediately recoiled and Yun Yin seized the chance to stand up. Luo Sha says she had seen many people beaten, scolded, and crying, but she had never seen someone with such a desperate look, trying to protect a book that was falling apart. The boy flew into a rage after being bitten and asked how she dared to bite people, saying he would beat her to the end, until Luo Sha arrived, ordered them to stop, and asked what they were doing. The boys replied that that wretch had stolen a book and even bitten them, saying she was like a rabid dog. They said that all the books in the library had the royal crest engraved on them and asked whether that one had it too, asserting that it was probably something she had picked up from the trash. They looked and fell silent. Luo Sha stared at them and handed another book to Yun Yin, saying that one was for her and that she could throw the other away. Yun Yin's eyes shone when she saw the new book, but she still kept the old one, gathering the torn pieces from the ground and left. Luo Sha watched and realized that, compared to a brand new treasure, that pile of trash seemed far more important. She noticed that that corner, though remote, was the only one with sunlight in that corridor and vaguely felt that it might have been the only glimpse of light and warmth that Yun Yin had managed to grasp. In the present, Luo Sha says that, even in tatters, that was better than the perfection offered by others, which could disappear at any moment. Later on, she began going to that corner frequently, sometimes helping, sometimes not. After that, she asked His Majesty to let Yun Yin become her personal guard, which helped avoid most of the overt bullying. Even so, the bullying in secret did not decrease. Things only improved after Yun Yin hid her identity and came to this academy, but now she has been dragged into it again. The Shadow Guards are His Majesty's direct troops, They act cruelly and without scruples, preferring to capture unjustly rather than release anyone. Not to mention the innocents they massacre without any apparent reason. That is why he must save her, and will do everything within his power to repay this debt. If there is anything else he can help with, she should let him know. The protagonist enters the mirror world and then returns to the real world. Yun Yin is covered in plasma, her clothes torn. The hooded young man says she is very stubborn, but tonight his responsibility is to protect her as a prisoner. It will be a long night with countless tortures he can inflict on her. No one can save her, until someone strikes him, causing a huge impact. Yun Yin smiles when she sees that it is Yun, who asks whether she is all right. The hooded young man says he finally managed to lure him out and asks whether it was him who eliminated Kun, stating that he was clearly nothing more than a mascot plastered on the surface. Although nominally called a hero, in reality he had neither strength nor power and even hid in a secret realm, which leads him to suspect that Yun is a former member of the Yun family, since only the Yun family harbored hatred toward him. He used that wretch as bait, and Yun bit the bait and came knocking on his door. The protagonist uses the Healing Bell, a professional skill-type ability of epic quality, strengthening the healing effect on allied units. Fortunately, His Majesty left these two baits behind. Otherwise, with such exceptional stealth abilities, he would have been a real nuisance even with the entire city mobilized in advance. But now that he is here, he should not even think about leaving. This sealing matrix is so strong that only he, among S-Class, can break it. Hiding his face now is useless. Yun must obediently surrender and promise not to be tortured. After all, he wants to have a good time first with that wretch. A light is emitted. The system notifies that the domain of peace, epic quality, professional skill type is active. Within range, allied units receive 10% damage reduction, and the speed of enemy units is reduced by 20%. The protagonist asks whether the abuse he commits against Yun Yin is merely for his own entertainment. The hooded young man replies that of course it is, and that the reputation of the Shadow Guards is enough to lure him here. The pressure around the area grows stronger and stronger. Yun summons the spirit Ben Ben and remains still, remembering that Luo Wei personally led the Shadow Guards into action. No one was spared. All were devastated and then massacred. Che says that he is wrong about one point. The two take attack stances. A light is emitted. The protagonist thinks that the Shadow Guards massacred his family and that, to this day, he continues abusing this child who did nothing wrong. The system notifies that intimidation mode has been activated. Yun says that he cannot escape. The Shadow Guard asks what kind of weapon that is and whether it can even change form, saying that Yun has already used high-level recovery skills and a domain aura, making it clear that he chose a support-oriented class. That kind of class would not have offensive abilities. Chi replies that changing weapons is merely changing the form of the target. The protagonist releases chains along with mirrors. The system notifies that the intimidation domain, quality activated. The hooded young man says the skills are very good, that it is normal he managed to eliminate that useless Ding Kun, but that compared to him, he is still far behind and cannot even get close. Yun moves rapidly. The Shadow Guard looks back, but without even time to dodge, he is struck. He says that this is the stealth ability of the mirror world, and no wonder it is hard to capture. The Shadow Guard counterattacks and says that the minor injury was worth it in exchange for revealing the trump card. In the end, it is still just support. The Shadow Guard is struck in the back again. The system notifies that the degrading quality blade has been activated. Che is struck several times. The Shadow Guard asks about offensive abilities, asking which class he is in and saying he will not underestimate him. The Shadow Guard releases all his power, terrifyingly strong, declaring that Yun will have no other chance to use the mirror, and that none of the summoned creatures will withstand the impending attack. He says that Yun must endure this slow-cut torture together with that wretch. The protagonist raises his hand and unleashes his exclusive Peace Dancer skill. The system notifies intimidation mode. The Shadow Guard watches until he is struck head-on and asks whether that is invincibility with damage reflection, questioning how an S-level character could possess such an ability. The Matrix shatters. Yun walks forward and the Shadow Guard is lying on the ground, severely injured. Che says he will deal with her first. The Shadow Guard looks terrified and asks what he intends to do. The protagonist replies that he will pay 100-fold for what he has done. The Shadow Guard says that the others are about to arrive, that Yun cannot fight 3 alone, and that there is still time to leave. After all, he is a Shadow Guard of His Majesty, and if Yun dares to do this, he will pay dearly. Yun Yin stares at him and an extremely powerful force is unleashed, causing a tremendous impact. 3 more Shadow Guards approach, saying that he is a traitor and should surrender. The protagonist is confused until his eyes widen. Yun Yin also looks closely, eyes wide, and asks whether he instantly eliminated 3 S-level Shadow Guards. Yun says that Luo Sha has prepared a rendezvous point and a hideout nearby, that she should go first, and that these spirits will protect her as she leaves. He still has some unfinished matters and thinks that he does not know how many have come in total, nor whether he will be able to keep everything hidden after this. Then, still in the same place, Che thinks that the Shadow Guards were the same ones Luo Wei led to massacre the Yun family and asks whether that spirit was present when the Yun family was exterminated, and how many of the Shadow Guards participated in the massacre back then. The spirit replies that it was present. There were 5 shadows. The protagonist thinks it seems these people were trained in secret from a young age, hence the uniform names, and asks whether there was anyone else. The spirit answers, Yun Yin. Yun's eyes widen as he asks if it was the elder brother. In another place, Yun Che's elder brother, captain of the Shadow Guards, is with 2 women at his side. A Shadow Guard reports that Shadow Team 22 lost contact after carrying out orders to capture Yun Yin. His subordinates hired dungeon guards, found only corpses, and Yun Yin's whereabouts are unknown. The captain begins releasing a dark aura and asks whether anyone was eliminated, questioning whether an old member of the Yun family truly exists in hiding. He orders them to contact all locations. It is time to release Yun Yin's photo and the news that she is a descendant of the Yun family. Soon after, Yun Yin's photo is published, and people begin asking whether there is still a living member of the Yun family, whether she is the main culprit, and why this is only being reported now, questioning how she survived until today. Later, still at the academy, people comment on the report. One boy says it seems fake, but the official reports have already been released. The companion beside him asks that even if it is true how old she was back then, since what happened at that time was not her fault, saying that, like Chiao, she is actually quite innocent but suffered for many years. The boy agrees but says he can only think that way himself. If he said this to his own family, his grandfather would probably beat him to death with a club. After all, she is a descendant of something absolutely heinous. Throughout the academy, comments spread saying that the Yun family already committed acts like that and still dares to cling to life like larvae, that it is audacious for her to still be alive, and that she should kneel and lose her life before the statue of His Majesty. They say that would be far too easy for her, that she should be tortured until she loses her life. Meanwhile, Yun Yin is hiding, listening to everything. A boy tries to defend her, saying that torture would be excessive, but another boy becomes furious and says that Yun was the greatest traitor in the history of the kingdom, that millions were eliminated because of him back then, and that if it were not for His Majesty, asks whether a brat like that would be there spouting so much nonsense. An elderly woman comments that her parents lost their lives because of him. That wretch must be equally despicable and hateful, and the boy says that in fact she should know better and take her own life so as not to dirty anyone's hands. People continue saying that a sinner like that should not be alive, and that she should take her own life, just like her mother. Yun Yin approaches a door and begins to watch and listen in secret. A voice says that the chief of public security has already come looking for them and that it is time to change hideouts. Luo Sha asks how they were discovered and why they were attacked immediately. The protagonist replies that the public security department must have some connection with the Shadow Guards, at least knowing that they were trying to capture Yun Yin. Earlier, people from the public security department were secretly monitoring him. When she came to see him that night, they saw her and then quietly withdrew. After that night, the Shadow Guards lost their lives, and Yun Yin went into hiding, which is already enough to arouse suspicion toward him. As for the hero's elimination case, Yun Yin's identity is now widely known, so there are many reasons for doubt. Moreover, on the day of the incident, she also brought a hooded person of unknown identity into the hero's secret realm. It is only natural that they would suspect this hooded person to be the hero's eliminator. Therefore, as long as they force him to reveal his true strength, the chain of evidence will appear complete. Fortunately, the director arrived and drove away the chief of public security. Luo Sha agrees and says that if she had not been paying attention to his situation recently with so many soldiers and security officers around, if he had been exposed, he would have lost his life. Chi says he did not expect the director to be her granduncle. A little earlier, the director was holding his head and saying that he could dismiss the chief of public security, but if the Majesty's Shadow Guards appeared there, he would not be able to intervene. He had long ago said that Yun Yin should not be kept nearby. This was a good opportunity for her to make a decision. Previously, His Majesty Luo Wei ordered her to withdraw from the academy and return. If they took Yun Yin back with so many eyes in the palace, she would not be able to avoid being discovered, and it would be better for her to return on her own. In the present time, Yun Yin is still hiding and watching the door, wondering whether this day has finally come. She thinks that she has always been an illegitimate child who was not accepted, and that she relied on Luo Sha for a long time. Without her, Luo Sha could have had a much better life and would not have been gradually alienated by other members of the royal family. Now it has come to the point of involving Yun Che. Although she does not know his true identity, he could have been perfectly safe, yet He was exposed to all of this to protect her. Even now, without her, he could still be fine. Yun Yin remembers her mother who took her own life and thinks that it is time to leave. The protagonist opens the door and calls out to her. Yun Yin looks back, and Yun says that they will depart in secret. By chance, he knows a secret realm they can go to, because in a secret realm they can avoid being noticed. Luo Sha agrees and says that she also wanted to suggest that they go together to a secret realm. First, they will assess the current public opinion. After all, he is innocent, and they do not even have conclusive evidence. Later, she will intercede with His Majesty, and they may still be able to continue attending the academy. Yun Yin says that it was all her fault for causing so much trouble for the two of them, and that they do not need to help her so much. His Majesty wants her to return, and she cannot disobey orders. Luo Sha says they will pretend they are going out to have fun. Since her granduncle does not know and they are no longer at the academy, it will not be easy to inform him about the withdrawal, and he will cooperate. The protagonist says that, in fact, the reason everything turned out this way is his fault. Yun Yin asks how that could be possible. Yun thinks that the suffering she endured since birth can also be attributed to him. It was his involvement with Luo Wei that led to the massacre of the Yun family. That is exactly it, and he once again wonders what role she played in all of this. Luo Sha asks which secret realm they want to go to. Che thinks that naturally it will be one connected to the Shadow Guard spirits. Current location of Yun Yin, Golden City Secret Realm. Guys, if you enjoyed the video, leave a like, comment, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss new content. Thank you.